you don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who take on my hate. Look me better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 5th part of What If Deku and Hero Academia joins Power Rangers. Smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Misutafu Street's evening. The day that Renha was completely insane. On his first day at his new school, he had to take 2 quirk assessment tests and fight against Aizawa and Vlad King. And now on his way back home, he runs into a scared bandaged little girl who is being chased by a masked shady man that looks like a villain. Ren hasn't felt like this since his fight against the sludge villain, and this guy in front of him was giving off a dangerous vibe. He looked around to see that they were the only 3 people in the area, so there was no hope of calling for a hero's help. He was completely on his own. "Iri, what have I told you about running off on your own?" Chisaki said with a slightly angry voice as he was walking up close to the girl and Ren. Ren can immediately tell that he is the type of person that could never be trusted. And then he looked at the girl, who was even more scared than before. Ren can see now why she was so afraid of him earlier. This man in front of them was responsible for her fear. Even Holo Tommy could tell this guy was bad news. "Ren, be careful. I can tell this guy is on a completely different level than the sludge villain you fought," he warned his student in a low tone. Ren nodded to Tommy in response and looked directly at Chisaki. "Is she your kid?" Ren asked cautiously, not trying to be suspicious. "Yeah, she's my daughter," Chisaki said to him. Alarm bells started to go off crazy in Ren's head as he knew that was a lie. Thanks to the super sharp senses he inherited from Cole Evans, the Red Wild Force Ranger. Cole's empathetic connection with nature allows him to communicate with not only animals, but humans as well. Ren can sense Chisaki's heart and feels nothing but malice in it. "Now come on, Iri, we're leaving," Chisaki said as Iri tensed up in fear and grabbed onto Ren's uniform jacket. "He please doesn't go," Iri said, sobbing quietly in fear. Ren noticed this and said something. "Your daughter seems scared." "Oh, she's just afraid that I'll punish her for running away like that," Chisaki replied. Iri's grip on his jacket was harder, and her whole body began to tremble. Ren's eyes slightly narrowed as he balled his fist in anger. "But keep his cool to not make matters worse. Does this happen often?" "Her running away?" Ren asked, trying to get something out of the man. "On occasion. Kids can be troublesome sometimes," Chisaki said, walking up closer to them. "I'll just be taking her and we'll be on our way. You should head home to the kid, it's getting pretty late," he said, wanting to end the conversation. But Ren was not going to allow it to end here. "You know, she looks kinda scared right now. Maybe I could help you out," Ren suggested. The man's eyes narrowed in irritation. "That won't be necessary. As I said before, you should go home, kid," Chisaki said in a little irritation. Like hell he was. "You know what, I'm going to have to stop you right there," Ren said, dropping his act. "Hey?" Chisaki said in confusion, stopping himself from going any further to them. "That whole thing about you being her daughter, I can tell that was a load of bullcrap. Do you think I was born yesterday? The way that you're dressed and acted, and how this girl is bandaged up and shaking like a leaf. I can immediately tell you're the type of person that can never be trusted," Ren said in a serious tone. Ren then slightly pulled Iri behind him as he took off his bag and prepared his master morpher just in case things went south. Chisaki immediately narrowed his eyes at the ranger in his charge of tone. "Now, what are you planning on doing to this girl?" Ren asked in a demanding tone. "Listen, kid, you're getting involved with something that doesn't concern you. Now make the smart choice and walk away," Chisaki said in a dangerous tone. "Yeah, I'm going to have to say no to that," Ren replied. "You see, I kinda have this thing about crime. If I see something I don't like, then I do something about it. And considering the fact that this girl over here is terrified, and you look far from a trustworthy guy, I'm going to help her out," Ren said in a serious tone. Iri looked up at Ren again. Her face had a look of surprise and disbelief on it. "Really now? How do you plan to do that, kid?" Chisaki asked him coldly. Ren just cracks a smile as he changes the master morpher back into the wind morpher. "Like this, ninja storm, ranger form," Ren yelled out while doing hand motions before spinning the power disc on the morpher as a hurricane surrounded his whole body. This took both Chisaki and Iri by surprise as the hurricane died down to reveal Ren in his yellow Wind Ranger outfit with his arms crossed. Iri looked at Ren in shock and backed away from him. Chisaki's eyes widened in surprise, not expecting that from the boy, but soon got over it as he saw the threat in front of him. Is that supposed to scare me? I'm not going to back down from some kid in spandex, Chisaki said as he was taking off his gloves, which caused Eri to tease up in fear because she knew what was coming next. He took off his gloves, Ren observing on Chisaki's movements. If I had to guess, his quirk must be related to his hand. Better stay on guard. I'm only going to say this one last time, kid. Leaving here now and forget what you saw, Chisaki said in a threatening tone as he prepared to kill Ren if he had to, or forfeit your life. Ren in response just drew out his ninja sword from its sheath and got into his ninja fighting stance. No, Ren said in a deep determined voice as he was not backing down from this. Eri was now terrified of what was to come next. Someone else was going to die again, all because she ran away. Chisaki just sighed in disappointment at the boy's answer. Such a pity. You would have lived a lot longer if you had just walked away, instead of playing hero, Chisaki said while placing his hand on the ground. He then twists on the ground, causing the walls and floor to erupt as a trail of spikes heading towards Ren to impale him. The spikes hit Ren from all sides, smashing into one another as it looked like Ren didn't make it out of the way in time. Eri watched in horror as tears ran down her face. The person that was trying to help her died all because he got involved with her. It's just like what Chisaki said to her, that she was a cursed child that brought nothing but pain, death, and suffering to others. Eri, Chisaki said as the girl freezes up in terror. You've been a very bad girl. Someone else had to die, all because you ran away, he said in a disappointed tone as he looked dictator at her. Next time you try to run again, I'll remove your legs from your body. This caused the horn girl to shake in fear of the threat because she knew he would do it. Chisaki walked over to Eri so he could take her back to base before someone else showed up. I don't think so, a familiar voice said, making both Eri and Chisaki's eyes widen in surprise. Then suddenly, Ren came emerging from out of the ground behind Chisaki. Chisaki quickly turned around in surprise, as Ren used his ninja speed to suddenly appear right in front of him. Chisaki reached out his hands to touch the boy so that he could kill him, but wasn't quick enough due to Ren's ninja speed, as he used his sword to dislocate both of Chisaki's hands. Chisaki yelled out in pain. Jesus, kid. That was pretty brutal even for my taste. Tommy thought. Ren didn't want to give Chisaki any chances to make a move, so he then roundhouse kicked him hard in the ribs, sending him straight into the wall. He then stabbed his ninja sword on the floor to manipulate the ground as rocks were coming up from the ground, surrounding Chisaki's body in an earth-like prison. Too easy, Ren simply said, removing his sword from the ground. Ren then punched Chisaki in the face hard, knocking off his mask in the process. Shut up, Ren yelled to the villain as he pointed his sword in Chisaki's face. I don't give a damn if you are king of the entire world. If you think I'm going to sit back and watch you torment a little girl, then you got another thing coming, third string, Ren said, not caring for the villain threat one bit. You make a big mistake, kid. You should quit while you're ahead. You have no idea what you're walking into, Chisaki said to the boy, trying to make him see reason. If you don't stop now, the entire Shihasaki clan will come after your head until you die. Ren just narrowed his eyes to the treat attempt on his life. It didn't matter what this guy said, he was going to back down when someone's life was on the line. He was a Power Ranger, and Power Rangers never abandon anyone in trouble. I'm looking forward to it, Ren said, making Eri and Chisaki's eyes widen in surprise as he was not the less bit scared at all by the threat. But as of right now, this conversation is over, Ren said, punching Chisaki in the face again, but this time even harder, knocking him out cold. Ren sees that his punch knocked the Yakuza boss out cold. That takes care of him, Ren said, turning his head to the horn girl who was staring at him in shock. You all ready? This caused Eri to stumble on the ground and back away from Ren, clearly afraid. Whoa, easy there, kid. Ren put both arms up, showing the girl he meant her no harm. This is just a suit, see, Ren said before demorphing back in his school uniform. I'm not going to hurt you. Hearing that made Eri calm down a bit. She can clearly see that Ren is a different person from Chisaki. Ren walked up closer to Eri and kneeled down to her level. Your name is Eri, right? Ren asked the girl, who nodded in response. Okay, Eri. My name is Ren Amamiya, but you can just call me Ren, Ren said to her with a warm smile. Ren, Eri repeated his name. Yes, that's my name, Ren said. Are you a hero? Eri asked him. No, not yet anyway. I'm still in training to become one, he said to her. Now do you know what he wanted you for, and what it was about? Ren asked Eri. Eri didn't answer right away. She was trembling in fear, afraid of answering. They said I was supposed to be used for something, that I should be with them. Overhaul said my quirk was a curse and that I would only begin pain and suffering to others. Eri said they did her best to explain this to Ren. This made Ren and Tommy's eyes widen from what they heard. Tommy's eyes narrowed in suspicion from hearing this. That guy actually said something like that to a child. Tommy thought in anger. What exactly did they do to you? Ren asked her, not going to like the answer. Overhaul says, I'm cursed because of my quirk, but that my curse can be used to cure heroes. Eri explained. Cure heroes? Ren and Tommy both thought as they were listening to Eri. So he cut me up, he put things in me and took things out. He tore me apart and put me back together. Over and over again Eri said, shivering in fear, remembering the things he'd done to her. Ren and Tommy's eyes widened in complete shock. Eri explained. What the hell kind of sick monster does something like that to a little kid? Ren thought, completely angry as he clenched his teeth. Kai Chisaki was an absolutely inhuman monster in Ren's thoughts now. There has to be more to this story. Tommy thought before coming up with an idea. That's it. I should go. They'll be mad. If they're mad, Eri said, scared of what they might do. Who cares? Let them be mad, Ren said, interrupting her. Eri looked at Ren and said, but if I don't go back, they'll. But got interrupted by Ren. No buts, Ren said firmly and looked Eri in the eyes. Eri, tell me the truth. Do you really want to go back there? Ren asked the girl in a serious tone. Eri just looked at Ren and took a deep breath to shout. No, I hate him. I hate living in the place they had me in. I don't ever want to go back there. The horn girl shouted at the top of her lunges. Ren just smiled at the girl's words. That's good to hear because I'm going to help you, Ren said, patting the girl on the head. They're not going to hurt you ever again, or else they'll end up like that idiot over there, Ren said, pointing at an unconscious Chisaki. Soon then Eri started to cry. She wrapped her arms around Ren's chest and beings to let out tears. Ren in return hugged the tormented girl back as she was crying in his arms. Ren, Tommy spoke quickly for only Ren to hear. What's up, Tommy? Ren whispered back. I need you to read the memories of that villain along with Eri's memories too, Tommy said to him. Read their memories? Ren asked back in confusion. Yes, if you take a look at their memories, we might be able to see the whole story of this situation, Tommy said. Ren thought that was a good idea as well. He may be able to learn more about what Eri was talking about from her and Chisaki's memories. He placed his hand over her head and used his telepathy to read her memories. This power belonged to Zato, the Red Dino Fury Ranger, which lets him read the minds and memories of others by making physical contact with them, which he uses to discover the occupations and personality traits of the people he meets. He is also able to use this ability for the following further powers. In a flash, all of Eri's memories were shown to Ren, but what he saw made his heart drop like a stone. Ren learned that Eri was a 6-year-old girl whose powers awakened last year, which led to her tragic situation. Eri lived a pretty normal life and was happy with her parents. That is until she manifested and she accidentally erased her father from her existence. Eri's mother disowned her after the incident and left her in the care of her grandfather, the boss of the Shai Hasekai, wanting nothing to do with the daughter anymore, as she sees her as a cursed child. Her grandfather took care of her and asked his Chisaki to identify what her quirk was. Kai discovered Eri's power as he started to do inhuman experiments on Eri by destroying her with his quirk, collecting blood, and then repairing her. He did this hundreds upon thousands of times, despite Eri's pain. Eri tried to escape and resist multiple times but to no avail, and eventually accepted her fate as a prisoner. Ren then looked at Eri in a pure mix of shock and horror. One little girl went through that unbelievable hell. It's a miracle that she is still sane after all the hell Chisaki put her through. Ren then pulled her closer to himself as he didn't want to let her go. Unforgivable. What that son of a bitch did to this poor girl is unforgivable, he thought, unable to contain his rage and newfound hatred for Chisaki. Tommy saw the look on his student's face and could tell what Ren saw in the girl's memories wasn't pretty. He was going to ask Ren about what he saw later as there was a more processing matter to deal with. When he calmed down, Ren bought Eri out of his chest to say something to the girl. Eri, do you have any family or relatives you trust? Ren asked, already knowing the answer. Eri just looked down, her red eyes filled with sorrow. That answered Ren's question. Okay then, let's go find someone for help. The police station isn't too far from here. We can ask them for help, Ren said, remembering passing a station not too long ago. Are you sure? Eri asks in concern. Yeah, I do. I have some really good friends that can help us both, Ren said, putting back on his bag and reaching out his right hand to her. I know you're scared, but I'll be there with you. So just trust me, Ren said with a smile on his face. Eri seems uncertain at first but decides to trust her savior and grabs Ren's hand. Alright, let's go. But first, Ren turned to Chisaki's unconscious trapped body. I have to do something first, he said, confusing the girl. What is it? Eri asked. Don't worry about it. It will only take a second, Ren said to her before they walked over to Chisaki. When he was in of him, Ren placed his left hand on Chisaki's forehead to read the bastard memories. Okay, you sick bastard. I want to know why you go so far as to torture a little girl. Ren thought, activating his telepathy. He learned that his name was Kai Chisaki, villain name, Overhaul. His quirk was called Overhaul, which lets him disassemble anything he touches, as well as reassemble it in any configuration he desires, effectively giving him full control over the matter. Chisaki was a homeless child who was found and raised by the boss of Shai Hasekai. He views him as a father figure and believes he owes the old man a great debt for taking him in. Throughout his life, the boss recognized that Kai was troubled and he would try to hone him into an honorable yakuza. As Chisaki grew older, he started a venture dealing with quirk-related drugs. The boss told him many times to stay away from villainy and drugs. Chisaki was simply trying to repay the kindness after the boss saved him, and tends to go overboard with his reinstatement of the yakuza. Then soon after, the Shai Hasekai's leader took charge of his granddaughter, Iri. The boss revealed to Chisaki that Iri has a strange quirk that does not resemble anything from her family lineage, and believes it is a genetic mutation. The boss does not know much about how Iri's unique quirk works, but due to it resembles Chisaki's quirk is the reason why he has asked him to take care of Iri and investigate her power. During his investigation, Chisaki starts thinking that Iri's quirk is on a completely different level from his restoring or repairing, and hypothesizes that Iri's unique quirk can rewind genetics. Once learning about Iri's power, Chisaki finds it to be terrifying. Through countless experiments, he discovered that her blood had properties that suppress the body's ability to manifest the quirk factor, inhibiting someone from using their powers. With this information, Chisaki made a plan to the Shai Hasekai's boss. Chisaki planned on selling the quirk-destroying bullets to villains who would use them on pro-heroes, and after a while, the Yakuza would distribute a serum that would undo the damage done and restore the lost quirks to the heroes. These products would be at a high price. Therefore, with the villains having the quirk-destroying bullets, the heroes having the serum, and Iri in the middle, the Shai Hasekai can monopolistically control the market, earning massive profits and eventually emerging from the darkness. However, the boss had already refuted Chisaki's plan and questioned his morality regarding humans. The boss advised him to leave if he was going to disobey their way of thinking. But Chisaki did not plan on going anywhere, as all he wanted to do was repay the boss for taking him in, and despite the boss's refusal, he chose to put him in a coma and told him to watch from the sidelines as he went through with his plan, intending to wake his boss up once he finished his plan. Chisaki blamed quirks for bringing forth heroes that pushed the boss into a corner, and with his plan he could restore the Yakuza back to its former glory. After putting Shai Hasekai's boss in his coma, Chisaki completely took over the organization and then began to experiment on Iri to turn her quirk into a weapon. He soon manufactured them into bullets that could be shot at a target to inject them with her blood. However, the effect of these bullets was temporary, and Chisaki used further tests to be able to perfect his experiment until he had refined the process enough to create bullets that he believed could permanently destroy quirks. When Ren was done looking into Chisaki's memories, he took his hand off his head and was beyond disgusted by Chisaki's way of thinking. So that's why he's doing all of this, to repay the debt he owes Iri's grandfather. Ren thought in disgust and anger. It didn't matter how indebted Chisaki was to Iri's grandfather. That was no excuse for all the sick crap he put Iri through. Just thinking about this pissed Ren off. Iri's quirk is called Rewind, which allows her to reverse a living thing back to a previous state. She has even rewind someone's body out of existence. Ren thought it was an impressive but also dangerous power to have. He then looked at Iri as he was thinking. According to Chisaki's memories, Iri's quirk power source is located in the horn on her forehead, and the size of the horn dictates the strength of her power. It is also an accumulation type quirk, which means the power it emits has to build up over a period of time before becoming usable. Ren, Iri spoke up, breaking Ren out of his thoughts. "Are you okay?" she asked her savior. Ren is just blind and surprised before shaking the thought off. "I'll worry more about this later. First things first is to get Iri to the police station," he thought. "Yeah, I'm good. I was just thinking about something. Come on, let's get to the police station, okay?" he said. Iri just nodded to the boy as in one fluid motion, Ren brought the girl up into his arms, making her yelp. The Power Ranger then ran out of the alley and down the street using his enhanced speed as he made his way to the police station with Iri clinging to him. As they ran, Ren went into his pocket and pulled out his phone, a serious look on his face as he dialed a number. "Please pick up," Ren muttered. After a few rings the phone was answered. "Young Amamiya," Toshinori said. "All Might, where are you right now?" Ren asked softly so the girl wouldn't hear him. "I'm still at the school signing paperwork," Toshinori said in a tired voice. "I swear, fighting villains is much more easy than All Might. I have a serious problem right now and I need your help." Ren interrupted the pro hero in a deadly serious tone. After hearing the seriousness in the ranger's voice, Toshinori paid more attention as he stopped doing his paperwork. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I can't explain it to you right now over the phone, but I need you to head to the police station near Musutafu. I just rescued a kidnapped child from a villain," Ren said while running. "I'll be there in the next few minutes," All Might said as he bulked up in his muscle form. "I'll be sure to call my friend Tsukachi and tell him you're arriving at the station with a kidnapped child," the hero said as the line ended. Ren sighed as he put his phone away and continued to run. Then a worried expression appeared on his face. "Damn, this is getting complicated," Ren thought before he started to increase his speed to reach the station faster. Amamiya resident evening. Kenji was starting to worry. He knew it was Ren's first day, so maybe he could be a little late. But it's almost 7. Where can he be? UA is a school for people who want to be heroes in the future. Maybe the lessons got intense in order to compensate. Or maybe some villains attacked the school. It happened before, but who said it won't happen now? Ren already fought against a villain and has been training for the past year for UA. But will he be alright if he was attacked? He hasn't been this worried about his son since the sludge villain incident about a year ago. So Kenji's thoughts were broken when his phone rang. It was his son Ren. He wasted no time answering it. "Ren, what happened?" Kenji asked with a concerned tone. "Whoa, first off, calm down, Dad," Ren said to his father over the phone. "I'm fine. I'm just at the police station." "What? What happened?" Kenji shouted. "It's kind of a long story. It'll be easier to explain to you if you come here," Ren said to him. "I'm on my way," he said to his son. "Right, I'll see you soon," Ren said, hugging up the call. With that, Kenji hung up his phone, grabbed his coat, and left the house to the police station. Musutafu police station evening. "Have to be honest, I wasn't expecting to see you again so soon. Least of all like this," Detective Tsukachi said while Ren and Eri sitting in the waiting room, along with All Might who was sitting next to Tsukachi. "Yeah, me neither," Ren said, not expecting to see him again. "Good to see you again, young Amamiya, though I wish it was under better circumstances," All Might said with his famous smile. "I heard what you and the other rangers did at school today. Excellent job." He gave him a thumbs up. "Thanks," Ren said with a nod. "Anyway, have any idea when your father will get here? We do need to go over things with him," Tsukachi asked Ren. "I just called him not too long ago, so he should be here soon," Ren told him. When Ren and Eri made it to the police station, they both explained everything that happened in their encounter with each other and Chisaki. Eri keeps holding on to Ren's hand tightly. She was afraid Ren might let go, but he had no intentions of letting go of her hand. "Excuse me," Kenji said, walking into the room, but looked to see Detective Tsukachi, All Might, and Eri holding his son's hand. "The All Might!" The man screamed in shock, making Eri jump in fear. The man noticed this and had a concerned look crossed his face as he looked at the little girl. "Ren, what's going on?" Kenji asked in a softer tone. "To answer your question, Mrs. Amamiya, she is the reason you are here," Tsukachi said. "According to your son, he was walking home when Eri here ran into him. While he helped her up, a man walked up to them, demanding Eri back. According to your son, he and the man entered a confrontation, where the villain was captured and trapped on a wall. Our officers just picked him up." Tsukachi explained the situation to Kenji. "What about Eri here?" Kenji asked about her. "When your son brought her in, our medical staffers took a look at her. Apparently, she had extensive damage done to her arms and legs, hence the bandages," Tsukachi said, making Eri sniffling. "Damage?" Kenji asked as he was looking at Eri. "Yes, much of her skin has been cut. They even mentioned bruises too large to be accidents," Tsukachi said. "And that man, the one my son confronted, he was responsible?" Kenji asked. "You damn right he was," Ren answers, getting the attention of the 3 adults. "Eri told me herself the things he did to her," Ren said with venom in his voice. Kenji looked at his son with a worried look. He hasn't seen his son this angry before. Whatever that villain did to this girl made him angry. Detective Tsukachi had the look on his face as well. He had heard the testament from Ren and was also disgusted by the villain's actions. All Might's face was shadowed by his student's words. He can understand his anger since a child was involved. All Might, Detective Tsukachi, and Dad. "I need to speak to you all for a moment," Ren said to them before looking at Eri in concern. In private, they looked at each other for a moment before All Might spoke. "If you say so, young Amamiya, let's take this outside," All Might said, opening the door as he, Kenji, and Tsukachi walked out of the room. Ren stood up from his chair and walked out of the room as well until Eri clinched onto him tightly. "Can you please just stay?" she asked in a much softer voice. Ren glanced at the girl before he nodded and rubbed her head. "Eri, I need you to let me go so I can talk to them about something important. I promise I'll be back as soon as I'm done talking," Ren said to the horn girl with a smile. Eri looked hesitant for a few seconds before she nodded and let go of Ren. He then pulled out his phone as he opened up the Netflix app on it and played a cartoon show for her to watch. "Here, watch this when I'm gone, so you don't get bored," Ren said, handing her his phone. Eri took his phone and watched the video with interest as the three adults watched them. All Might couldn't help but smile at the scene as his student was helping comfort the little girl. Ren then walked out of the room and closed the door behind himself, then turned to the three adults with a serious expression on his face. "Sorry to call you all out here, but I didn't want Eri to hear what I was about to say." Ren said to them, "That's quite already, young Amamiya. You took young Eri's feelings into consideration for such a sensitive topic." All Might said to him, "Yes, I also believe you made the right choice," Tsukachi said in agreement. "So what actually happened?" Kenji asks his son. "It's just like Detective Tsukachi said. I ran into Eri in the alleyway when Chisaki was coming after her. So I morphed into a Power Ranger to capture him and rescue Eri," Ren explained. "And you chose to fight him?" Kenji asked in concern. "I didn't want to, but," Ren said before thinking back on Eri's members. "If I hadn't, Eri would have been taken away by him. And she already suffered enough in the hands of that bastard," Ren said in anger as he squeezed his hands, nearly causing them to bleed. The three adults looked at them and could see the angry look on his face. They just wondered what the villain had done to make Ren so upset. "When I got done capturing Chisaki, I used my ranger abilities to read his and Eri's memories," Ren said, surprising the adults. "Did you say you can read people's memories?" All Might asked with widened eyes. Before Ren could say anything, Holotommy appeared in front of them. "Yes, he can. It's one of the many abilities he inherited from previous Power Rangers," Holotommy said to them. "Tommy, why are you?" Kenji said until Ren cut him off. "It's okay, Dad. They already know about Tommy and the Power Rangers," Ren said. "They do?" Kenji asked. "Yes, it's true, Mrs. Amamiya," Tsukachi said with a nod. "We had a talk with your son and the rest of his teammates a month ago after what they did at the entrance exam. Indeed, the staff at UA has sworn to keep the secret of the Power Rangers' origins to ourselves," All Might said to him. "I see," Kenji said, putting his mind at ease. "I asked Ren to read their memories to learn more about the situation Eri was in and what Chisaki wanted from her," Holotommy explained to them. "I see. Smart thinking on your part, Tommy." All Might smile at the hologram. "If you already know, then this saves us time," Tsukachi said, bringing out his notepad. "So Amamiya, what did you learn from the two?" Ren's face immediately turned into a frown as he was going to tell them the heartbreaking truth. "Yeah, I did. But you're not going to like what I hear, so be prepared for what I'm about to say," Ren said in an almost hesitant tone. "Don't worry, young Amamiya. We adults can handle anything you say," All Might said to his student. Ren looked at them a moment before sighing to himself with his eyes closed. "Let's hope you can back up those words, All Might," he thought before opening his eyes straight at them. The villain's name is Kai Chisaki, also known as Overhaul. He is the current leader of the Shai Hasekai clan. His quirk was called Overhaul, which lets him disassemble anything he touches, as well as reassemble it in any configuration he desires, effectively giving him full control over matter, including people. What a useful quirk to have. Sadly, it belongs to a villain, All Might stated. Shai Hasekai, Kenji said in confusion. Is that some kind of crime group? The Shai Hasekai is a Yakuza organization that's been around since before pro heroes arose in the world, Tsukachi said to Kenji. To think that there are still Yakuza around after All Might and the other heroes took care of all of them. What happened next, young Amamiya? All Might asked. I'll start off at the beginning with Eri's memories. She lived a pretty normal life with her parents, just like any other child, but, he said before hesitating a bit. But what? Tsukachi asked, noticing his hesitation. Things started to change for Eri when her quirk manifested, Ren said in a grim voice. Holotommy noticed the tone in Ren's voice and asked, what is her quirk? Her quirk is called Rewind. I learned it from Chisaki memories. She can rewind any living thing back to a previous state, Ren explained, making Holotommy, Kenji, All Might, and Tsukachi shocked that a little girl like Eri has a power quirk. I did not see that coming, Holotommy thought in amaze. A rewind quirk. Interesting, Tsukachi said, writing down the information. We ran Eri's picture for any missing children with that name or description. Did you find anything about her? Holotommy asked. Unfortunately, no. We couldn't find anything on her. No birth certificate, no ID, no address, absolutely nothing. It's almost as if she doesn't even exist, Tsukachi said. That's because Overhaul was responsible for that, Ren said as he continued. He had his man erase Eri's birth certificate and anything else on her, to completely erase her existence because of how dangerous her power is since she has no control over her quirk, Ren said in a grim tone. What do you mean? Kenji asked his son. When Aries first manifested her quirk, it went out of control. Her father, not knowing what her quirk does, reaches out to his daughter in an attempt to help her, only for him to be rewound out of existence, Ren said, making their eyes widen in pure shock. My God, All Might said with a shocked look. That's horrible, Kenji said in a sad tone. It's not that uncommon for something like this to happen. Quirks are unpredictable, Tsukachi said, recalling a few incidents like this before in the past. That's not the worst of it. I'm just getting started, Ren said, making them worry. Why do I have a feeling that this is going to get bad? Tommy thought. After the incident, Iri's mother began to see her as a cursed child and disowned her, Ren said in a sad tone with his head down. What? They all yelled in surprise. Yeah, not wanting to do anything with Iri anymore, she left her in the care of her grandfather, the boss of the Shai Hasekai, Ren said, making their eyes widen in surprise. Iri's grandfather is the boss of the Shai Hasekai, Tommy asked in worry. Yeah, after Iri was taken in by her grandfather, he asked Chisaki to look after her, which was a huge mistake on his part. Since they had no idea what her quirk was, Iri's grandfather asked Chisaki to figure out what it was because he believed that Iri and Chisaki quirks were similar. Ren explained, going into more detail. Upon his investigation, Chisaki starts thinking that Iri's quirk is on a completely different level from his powers and hypothesizes that her unique quirk can rewind genetics. Her power is very unique. I never heard of anyone with such a time quirk, All Might said. This villain must be smart to be able to figure out Iri's powers, Kenji said. Ren then continues what he knows. Once learning about Iri's power, Chisaki finds it to be pretty terrifying. Then he ran countless experiments on her blood. He discovered that her blood had properties that suppress the body's ability to manifest quirk factor, inhibiting someone from using their powers, Ren said, making their eyes widen. Suppress the body's ability to manifest quirk factor. Tsukachi shuddered a bit from what Ren said. Ren nodded to him in silence before speaking again. This is where things got really bad. With this newfound knowledge, Chisaki came up with a plan that could completely change Hero Society, Ren said in a grim tone. Change Hero Society? Kenji asked in curiosity. Ren nodded to his dad in response to the question. What was his plan? Tommy asked. Ren took a deep breath before answering the question. Chisaki used Iri's blood to create bullets that could permanently erase a person's quirk, he explained. What? The three adults shouted in pure shock at what Ren said. Even Tommy was surprised by this information. He didn't think it was possible for a person's powers to be taken away like that. All Might and Tsukachi had the same thoughts as Tommy. They only know of one man who can take a person's powers away. That's terrible, Kenji said in surprise. It's more than terrible, Kenji. This is the worst case scenario. Tommy corrected him. You said he's using Iri's blood to make those bullets. Does that mean? All Might said before Ren answered him. Yeah, Ren said as he gritted his teeth and balled up his fists in both anger and frustration. Chisaki using his power to experiment on Iri constantly by disassembling and reassembling her body in order to get more blood to turn Iri's quirk into a weapon, he said, making all of their blood freeze in shock. Overhaul plans on selling the quirk-destroying bullets to villains who would use them on pro-heroes, taking away their powers and leaving them helpless against the villains. After a while, the Shai Hasekai would distribute a serum that would undo the damage done and restore the lost quirks to the heroes. These products would be at a high price. Therefore, with the villains having the quirk-destroying bullets, the heroes having the serum to restore their powers, and Iri in the middle with her rewind quirk, the Shai Hasekai can monopolistically control the black market, earning massive profit and eventually emerging from the underworld. That is Chisaki's ultimate goal, to destroy Hero Society because he blames quirks for making heroes that pushed Iri's grandfather into a corner, and with his plan he could restore the Yakuza back to its former glory. Ren finishes explaining Chisaki's plan. All Might, Tommy, Tsukachi, and Kenji remain silent from the information told to them. They have their own reactions to this. All Might felt terrible because he was supposed to be the symbol of peace, making a world where everyone could smile and live happily. And here was a little girl, without a shred of hope in her eyes. He felt like a failure. Tommy was just beyond disgusted by Chisaki. He knew a lot of evil villains from his memories of a Power Ranger, but this Chisaki takes the cake. Tsukachi had the same feelings as All Might. He may not be a pro-hero, but it still feels like he failed to uphold his duty as a detective. Kenji just felt pity for the young girl for having such a cruel life. No one should go through what this little girl has been through. That sounds bad, Tsukachi said in concern. But why would he do something like this? It doesn't make sense, Kenji asked. True me, Mrs. Amamiya. Nothing villains do make any sense, All Might said, being appalled by the idea of using a young child's flesh and blood to create a weapon. Chisaki doing all of this to repay a debt? Ren said to them. A debt, Tsukachi said with a raised brow. Chisaki grew up homeless and was taken in by Eri's grandfather as a child. Chisaki looked up to Eri's grandfather like a father and wanted to repay the man for taking him in at a young age. Ren said, was Eri's grandfather okay with this idea of his? Holotommy asked. No, he was completely against the idea because of how inhumane it was. But Chisaki was determined to see his plan through, so he used his powers to put Eri's grandfather in a coma and plans on waking him back up when all is said and done. Ren said with a grim tone. That monster, All Might said in anger. But what about the quirk-destroying bullets? Do they have them completed? Tsukachi asked the ranger. Ren shakes his head in response. Luckily no, they haven't completed the drug yet. All they managed to do is create bullets that only temporarily take a person's quirk away for a few hours, he said, making the adults sigh in relief. That's good to hear, Kenji said. Yes, that's one less thing to worry about. Holotommy agreed. All Might and Detective Tsukachi, Ren said, holding out both of his hands to him. Please grab onto my hands. I'm going to show you the memories I've seen from Eri and Chisaki. You can show people your memories? All Might asked in curiosity. Yeah, it's something I inherited from Zato, the Red Dino Fury Ranger. Ren said to them. The Red Dino Fury has another power called Memory Transferal, which lets Zato show others his own memories using his telepathy. All Might and Tsukachi both grabbed Ren's hands to see the memories of what Ren saw from Eri and the villain. Okay, I'm going to transfer my memories of everything I know about them to you both, but be prepared for what you're about to see. Ren warned the two before using his telepathy on them. Then the minds of All Might and Tsukachi were filled with everything Ren showed from Eri and Chisaki's memories. When they let go of Ren's hands, they gasped in horror at the unbelievable nightmare that Chisaki put that poor girl through. To think that one girl could have such a cruel life. All Might, Ren said to the number one hero in a calm yet serious tone as he was looking straight into his eyes. We've known each other for a while now and I never asked for anything in return. But I need you to do something for me. He then looked at the pro-heroes with an angry, serious expression on his face. I want you to gather up an army of heroes, storm into the Shai Hasekai stronghold, and bring that place to the goddamn ground. Make those bastards suffer for what they did to Eri. Ren told him. All Might looked at the boy with a slightly surprised expression. The way Amamiya told him wasn't a request. It was an order, one that the number one will gladly follow, as the expression on his face turns into a serious one. I swear to you, young Amamiya, as the symbol of peace, I will do everything in my power to make Chisaki and the rest of the Shai Hasekai clan pay for the pain they cause young Eri. All Might said in a very angry tone as he clenched his fists. Their plan to destroy Hero Society ends tonight. Because I am here. He wasn't going to let those villains get away with this. Ren, Holotommy, and Kenji smiled at the number one hero's determination. Thank you, All Might. Ren thought, leaving this to the pro-heroes. I'll be sure to put a warrant out for the Shai Hasekai clan and call in any heroes that are available for the raid. Tsukachi said, pulling out his phone to make a call. With the information you provide to us from the villain's memories, this will make things go smoothly, he said to them. And I should make a call to my former sidekick, as he was investigating the Yakuza group for some time. All Might said, as he didn't really want to call him after the huge fight they had years ago, but decided this was no time for awkward relationships to hold him back. Wait, I forgot to ask, but whatever happened to Overhaul? Holotommy asked the detective. Officers managed to pick up Chisaki at the location that Amamiya provided for us, and is being held in one of our cells right now, Tsukachi said, as they were lucky that the villain was still unconscious when they found him. We'll be sure to transport him to Tartarus prison in the morning. Good riddance. I hope he rots in prison for the rest of his life, Ren said in a pissed-off, none-caring tone. That's pretty cold. But I don't blame him after what Chisaki did to Eri. Holotommy thought. In any case, you should head back to the waiting with your father, Tsukachi said to them. Yes, you have done enough, young Amamiya. You can leave the rest to us pros. I'll see you again tomorrow in class, All Might said before walking away and taking out his phone. We can discuss what to do with Eri after I get the warrant ready. This will only take a couple of minutes, Tsukachi said, following All Might from behind, leaving Ren, Kenji, and Holotommy alone. Dad, Ren was about to apologize before he was stopped. You don't need to apologize, Ren, Kenji said to his son. I can understand why you wanted to save her, after what that villain did to her. I agree. I'm pretty sure that any other Power Ranger in your situation would have done the same thing. Holotommy said. I'm just glad that Eri isn't going to suffer anymore, Ren said. Yes, thanks to you. I'm proud of you, son, Kenji said with a hand on Ren's shoulder. But can you please be a little more careful next time? The last thing I need you to die. Ren rubbed the back of his neck and said. I can't make any promises since I'll be doing that a lot in the future, but I'll try. That's all I ask for, Kenji said to his son, smiling. Ren nodded back to him with his own smile as they headed back into the waiting room, where he was waiting for them as Holo Tommy disappeared back into the Master Morpher. As they walked in, they heard small laughter from the girl, as she was still watching the cartoons on Ren's phone. Eri saw them both walk in and she gained a blush of embarrassment on her face. It was funny, she said in an embarrassed voice that just made Ren and Holo Tommy laugh, and Kenji smiled, as Ren sat back down next to her. Then he grabbed Eri by her waist and brought Eri in his lap, and wrapped his arms around her, as the horn girl was sitting on him, feeling even more comfortable and safe in Ren's presence. Then the two of them went back to watching the cartoons on Ren's phone. After 30 minutes of waiting, Tsukachi walked back into the room as he sat back down. Sorry for the wait. I just got done with the warrant for the Shy Hasekai. All Might just left with a number of pro heroes to launch an assault on the Hasekai household. Tsukachi said to them. That's good to hear, Ren said, feeling Eri grab onto him tighter from hearing the Yakuza group name. So Detective Tsukachi, what are we going to do about Eri? Kenji asked him. That's the thing, Tsukachi said, sighing. Since Eri's father is dead, her mother disowned her, and her grandfather is in a coma, she doesn't have any other relatives to take her in. Normally, we take children in her situation and leave them in a home until we can figure out where to properly place them. However, Eri has refused to leave your son's side since they arrived. Which was true. Since they arrived, Eri refused to leave Ren's side at all. During the medical exam, the questioning, and Kenji arrived except for the private conversation they had outside not too long ago. She didn't want to leave Ren's side for any reason. I hate to ask this, we don't want to be intrusive, but given Eri's current dependency on your son and her mental state, would it be alright for her to live with you both for a while, until we can sort this out? Tsukachi asked them. Yes, we can take her. We have a guest room in the house, Kenji said. Alright, I have the paperwork right here for you to sign. Eri will have to continue with medical examinations until the full extent of her damage can be determined. She will also have to start doing quirk training so she can get her powers under control, Tsukachi said, making Eri shake in fear. Given the nature of her ability, it would be too dangerous to her unable to control her quirk if it were to go out of control again. Eri was afraid that they were going to abandon her when they learned about her power, but Ren placed his hand over her head and rubbed it gently to calm her down. That's for the best. From what I saw, Chisaki didn't give her any form of training at all to control her powers, Ren said to Tsukachi. Indeed, which is why I called Principal Nezu to set up an appointment to have Eri's quirk tested tomorrow in the afternoon at UA. Tsukachi handing the paperwork to Kenji. Kenji then read the paperwork before signing it. Tsukachi took it back and read over it quickly. Alright, this all seems to be in order for now. You can all go home. Just remember to take Eri to her appointment tomorrow, Amamiya, Tsukachi informed Ren. I will, Ren said as he moved Eri from his lap and stood up. Come on Eri, let's go, Ren said, holding out his hand for her to grab. Okay, Eri quietly said, holding on to Ren's hand again. Ren, let's head home, Kenji said to his son. With that, the three left the police station and went home. Amamiya resident night. This is our home, Kenji said, turning on the lights in the house, illuminating the room for Eri to see. We should head into the living room for now, Ren suggested as they walked into the living room. There's the sofa. You can sit down here, Eri, Ren said to her. Eri seems relaxed and more comfortable than when she first met Ren. Ren, did you have your old clothes when you were her age? Kenji asked her son. Don't you remember? We gave them to charity when I outgrew them, Ren said to him. Right, I forgot about that, Kenji said, scratching his head for his forgetfulness. I'll just give her one of my t-shirts and underwear and buy some clothes for her tomorrow, Ren said to her father. Don't you have to do her quirk test tomorrow? Kenji remains his son. Then I'll have to buy them in the morning, Ren said with his finger under his chin. School doesn't start until 8:30 and the clothing stores in the shopping center open up at 7:30, giving me an hour to look for some clothes for Eri. And I'll have to buy more clothes around the weekend since that's my free time, Ren planned out. If that is the case, then I'll have to wake you up early to get you to the store, Kenji said, pulling out his wallet and getting his credit card. Take my credit card and buy her some clothes, Kenji said, handing Ren his credit card. Right, Ren put the credit card in his pocket. So Eri, are you hungry? He asked with her nodding lightly. Then I'll make something for you, Kenji said to them. But first, Ren gives her a bath and some new clothes to wear. Lord only knows the last time she had a proper bath, Kenji said, looking at Eri's clothes. Got it, Ren said with a nod. Eri, come on, and let's get you clean up, Ren said to her. Eri got up from the sofa and followed Ren to the bathroom to take a bath. After taking a bath together with Eri, Ren was in his usual sleeping attire and Eri was wearing one of Ren's shirt and boxers. It was too big for her to wear, but it was better than nothing. All of her bandages were taken off and she looked as good as new. There, now she looks like a normal girl, Kenji said with a smile while cooking dinner. Ren then smelled something good from his cooking and recognized the smell. That smell. Are you making your special curry? Ren happily said. Kenji smiled at his son's reaction. You bet. Since we have a special guest, might as well make something special, Kenji said, making a plate. Kenji curry was to die for and one of the best dishes he ever made. Eri begins to smell the aroma and her stomach growls loudly in hunger. Looks like someone's hungry, Kenji said, pulling out a chair. Sit here and let's get some food in your stomach, Kenji said to her. Eri looked at Ren and he gave her a nod to go on. Eri then walked over to the chair and sat down at the kitchen table. Then Kenji pushes the chair close to the dinner table. Here you go. Amamiya's special curry, Kenji said, putting a hot plate of curry on the table. Ren puts a glass of juice next to Eri so she can have something to drink which he eats. As he sat down as well, Eri just stares at the plate of curry with a little bit of drool coming from her mouth. Go on, dig in Eri before it gets cold, Ren said to her. Eri did exactly that as she took a bite of the curry with her eyes widening, and she started to wolf down the curry like she didn't have anything to eat for days. Ren can only assume that Chisaki bastard didn't care much for feeding her. There's no need to rush. It's not going anywhere, Kenji said to the girl. It didn't take too long before Eri finished the last of her curry and drank her juice, but it looked like she wasn't satisfied. Do you want some more, Eri? Ren asked the girl. Why yes, Eri said with a nod. Dad, Ren said. On it, Kenji said, knowing what to do. He grabbed Eri's plate and put more curry on it, giving the curry back to the girl who immediately started to eat it again. Your curry is always the best, Ren said, eating his food. Yours isn't half bad either, Kenji said. I learned from the best after all. Ren comment. Ren learned how to make his dad's special curry from his father. So Eri, how does it taste? Ren asked the horn girl. It's good, she said, stuffing her face with more curry. Good to hear that, Ren said with a smile as he was eating his food. After Ren ate 5 plates of curry and Eri ate 3, they were stuffed with their meal. Man, that was good. I can never get enough of your curry, Ren said, stretching his arms behind his back. Eri also had a satisfied look on her face. She ate a lot for a little girl her age. Happy to hear that, son, Kenji said with a smile. Then turned his head to Eri. Feeling tired, Eri? He asked, getting a nod from her. Ren, can you show her to the guest room? He can help you get settled there. No, Eri shouted in fear, which made both Ren and Kenji look worried. She gazes down her head in shame. I don't want to sleep alone, she said quietly. Ren then got up from the chair and patted her on the head. Hey, it's fine. You can sleep in my room, Ren said, patting her as she looked up at him. Right, Dad? Yeah, we should have a spare sleeping bag. Let me go find it. You should take Eri to your room, Kenji said to his son. Ren nodded to him. Got it. Come on, Eri, I'll show you my room, Ren said, and she followed him upstairs. Ren opened the door to his room and let the horn-in girl. His room was pretty normal for a boy's room. He had a flat-screen TV, desk, bed, closet, shelf, drawer, a few video game posters on his wall, game consoles of different kinds, and lots of video games. Sorry, it's a little messy since I don't get many people to come in here, Ren said, starting to clean up his room a little. Eri just stood there watching Ren move stuff around and clean his room. She then noticed a game on the floor and picked it up. It was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch. What is this? Eri asked, holding the game in her hands. Ren turned to see what she meant. That's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch. It's a racing video game, he said. Is it fun? Eri asked in curiosity. Yup, it is. Do you want to play it? He asked her. Eri just looked at the game again and nodded to Ren. Okay, we can play it tomorrow after we come home from school, Ren said, putting a book bag on his desk, when a picture fell off the desk. It dropped to the floor and went over to Eri, who packed it up and saw a photo of 3 people in it. What's this? Eri asked, looking at the picture. She sees Ren but a few years younger, Kenji, and a black-haired woman with a ponytail. Oh, that's a family photo I took a few years back, Ren said to her. Who's this? Eri asked, holding up the family photo and pointing at the woman in it. Oh, that's my mom, as she doesn't live with us anymore, Ren hesitated to say. Oh, Eri said, knowing what he meant. Then uncomfortable silence fell in the room. Ren didn't know what to say to the girl, nor did Eri know what to say to him. Can I see it again? Eri suddenly asks. See what? Ren asked in confusion. Eri said, pointing to her body. Ren just looked at her in confusion until he realized what she wanted. You mean my ranger outfit? You want to see that? Ren asked. Eri nodded to him in response. Sure, just let me get my morpher, Ren said, walking to his desk. Morpher? Eri asked in curiosity. Yeah, it's what's let me turn into a Power Ranger, Ren said as he grabbed his morpher and put it on. What's a Power Ranger? Eri asked. You can say they're special types of heroes that you have never seen before. Ren said, nothing knowing how to explain this to a little girl. He then changed his master morpher into the Grid Battle Force communicator. It morphin time, Ren said softly, unlike all the other times he yelled it out loud. He then taps the Grid Battle Force communicator with his hand as the Beast X morpher materializes on his wrist for Eri to see. Activate Beast Power, he said while inserting the red Morph X key into the morpher. Then a red tornado of energy appears above him as it swirls down around him. When the tornado dies down, it reveals Ren as the Red Beast Morpher Ranger. Seeing this made Eri's eyes widen in amazement as this outfit was different from the one he used against Chisaki. So, do you like it? Ren asked her. Eri nodded dumbfounded as she was unable to take her eyes off Ren. That's good. He lightly chuckled at the girl's reaction. I'll tell you more about the Power Rangers tomorrow. Would you like that? Yes, Eri said with a little smile on her face. Then the door to Ren's room opens with Kenji comes in holding a sleeping bag. Do you intend to sleep with that costume on, Ren? He asked. No, Dad. Eri just wanted to see it, Ren said to him before powering down. Alright then. Well, here's the sleeping bag. You should be fine to sleep with this, Eri, Kenji said, handing Ren the sleeping bag. Thank you, Eri weakly said, still a little uncomfortable as Kenji. You're welcome, Kenji said to the girl. I'll wake up early in the morning, so you can buy some clothes for Eri, Kenji said to his son. Got it, Dad? Ren nodded his head. Good night you too, Kenji said, leaving the room. Come on, Eri, let's get some sleep, Ren said, laying the sleeping bag on the floor. He helped her get settled in it and turned on an old night light he had, in case you get scared. With that done, Ren puts the master morpher back on his desk and turns off the lights in the room. Ren crawled into his bed next to her, who was lying on the floor, and went to sleep early so he wouldn't be too tired in the morning. Ren? Eri asked. Da, Eri, Ren said. Why did you help me? Eri asked in worry. What? Ren asked in surprise. Why did you help me? I am cursed, Eri asked him confused. Ren immediately got upset by this. Those fucking bastards, making a little girl question who she is. He thought in anger. Putting aside his anger, Ren stood up from his bed and approached her. He sat down next to her with Eri getting up but still sitting. Eri, I want you to listen to me very carefully, Ren said to her in a very serious tone. You are not cursed. Eri's eyes widened as these were the first kind words she had ever received. But they said. Ren then cut her off. They were nothing more than a bunch of scumbags that would hurt, kill, use, lie, and steal from innocent people just for their own selfish reasons. Just like how they wanted to use your quirk to destroy hero society. Ren said to her, nothing they said about you is true. More tears spilled out of Eri's eyes as she couldn't understand why he was being so nice to her. But Eri was cut off again. No buts, Ren shouted a little. You are not a cursed child, Eri. You just don't know how to control your powers, yet. Control, Eri repeated. That's right. You may not know this, but I used one of my abilities to look into your memories and saw what you did to your father, Ren said, making Eri's eyes widen and panic. Eri, did you do it on purpose? He asked her. Eri looked at him in fear as she thought he was going to hate her. And no, then it's not your fault, Ren said, patting her on the head. What? Eri looked at him confused. Why didn't he hate her? She still couldn't understand. All children your age have problems controlling their quirks when they first get them. It's not your fault, Eri, Ren said. Eri looked at him with curiosity and asked. Why? This time it was Ren's turn to be confused. Why what? He asked. Why are you being so nice to me? Eri cried out. Ren looked at her confused before putting on a kind smile. Because you deserve it, he simply said. Eri didn't know how to respond. No one had ever been nice to her, at least not honestly, but the person in front of her was so nice, and his touch was gentle and warm. Being with Ren made her feel something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Happiness. Eri then clung onto him as she was crying into his chest, not letting go of Ren for dear life in fear that this was all a dream and Overhaul was still free and would come for her again to kill her savior. Ren smiled at this adorable sight and hugged her back. This lasted for a good few minutes before Eri calmed down and released herself from his waist. Eri, tomorrow we're gonna go to my school and you're going to be taking some tests to help you control your quirk better, Ren said to her. When you learn how to control your quirk without it going out of control, I know you can use it to help people. Really? Eri asked with a little hope in her voice. Yeah, your quirk is called Rewind. It lets you rewind any living thing back to a previous state, Ren said to her. You could reverse a person's injuries after they got them, undo a paralyzed person, or cure diseases out of sick people. That power of yours can save lives. It isn't a curse. If anything, it's a blessing, Ren said to her with a smile. Eri couldn't believe what she heard. Her quirk was a blessing. Was that even possible? But if Ren said it, then it must be true. See, can my power really help people? Eri asked cutely with her wide and bright red eyes. Yes, I know it can, Ren said, rubbing her head. As long as you put in the hard work, anything is possible. The real question is, do you want to learn how to control your quirk better? He asked. Eri looked up at him and put on a happy smile. Yes, I want to learn how to use my quirk, she said with a determined look to do her best. Ren just smiled at this and pulled her in for a huge, which Eri happily accepted, as she was nuzzling her face in his chest. They stayed like this for a while until Eri fell asleep in his arms. When she was asleep, Ren placed her in the sleeping bag and went back to his bed as he fell asleep immediately after the long tiresome day he had. Tommy, who watched all of this in silence, was unbelievably proud of Ren. Not only did he save a little girl from an unbelievable monster, but was also returned happiness back into her life. These remind him of the times he spent with his son JJ, when he was around Eri's age. He just prays that nothing else bad will happen to this poor girl. But unknown to him and Ren, trouble was brewing its ugly face in the worst possible way. Yusutafu Police Station night. In a pitch black cell, Kai Chisaki was livid for several reasons. He had worked so hard to get to this point, putting the old man in a coma, using Eri's quirk to make the quirk erasing drug, and building up his organization from the shadows. Everything was going his way. Instead, he lost her to some kid dressed in a ninja spandex outfit, playing wannabe hero. He was normally prepared for anything, but that kid seemed to catch him off guard. He used a quirk he had never seen before, trapped him in stone, and knocked him out. Whoever that kid was, he wasn't normal. When he regained consciousness, he was in a cell and had quirks nullify handcuffs, so he couldn't use his quirk to free himself. He had the perfect plan and the perfect tool to put an end to the disease known as heroism. But one punk kid had to ruin everything. This cannot go unpunished. Once he was free, he was going to find the kid responsible for his current situation and make him pay. But first, he needed to find a way out of this cell. Boss, you in there? A man said outside his cell. Nemoto, is that you? Chisaki asked, a little surprised. Yes, we were worried when you didn't come back, so we had one of our guys use their quirk to track you down. Nemoto explained to his boss. Don't worry, I have the key to open the cell, he said, unlocking Chisaki's cell. When the door opened, it revealed 4 men. Shin Nemoto, a slim man with short, light-colored hair that he wears parted with bangs hanging down his forehead. He wears a black cape and a pair of baggy 3/4 pants, as well as a black bowler hat and pale sneakers. He sports a black plague mask. Joy Irinaka, also known as Mimic, a short man who is usually seen inside a black suit that he possesses with his quirk as a means to disguise himself. It appears to just be a small black cloak with short legs and arm-like protrusions and a white plague mask that he wears as part of the Shai Hasekai, sewn over where his face should be. Hari Kirono, also known as Chronostasis, a man who is wearing a plague mask, his being black with gold trim and also including circular glasses over his eyes. He can also be distinguished from them by the long white raincoat he wears, the hood kept permanently up, and another brown hair man dressed in a police officer uniform who works for the Shai Hasaki clan. Overhaul stood up when his subordinates opened the cell door and walked up to them. Nemoto used the handcuff key to unlock the cuffs. It's good to see you are well, young master, Kirono said to his boss. Here, he said, handing him a bird mask. I'm fine, but I'm going to kill the one responsible for this, Chisaki said with a light growl, putting on his new mask. Did you find Eri? Sorry boss, but we don't know where she is, Mimic said to him. Useless, all of you, Chisaki said in disappointment. I know where she is, the corrupt officer said, getting Chisaki attention. Where is she? Chisaki asked in a cold, demanding tone. The corrupt officer showed no signs of fear from his cold gaze. I saw her leave the station with some kid with spiky black hair and his father, he said, tipping his hat a bit from his gaze. Chisaki was irritated by this, as there was only one person in mind he knew who looked like that. That damn brat, Chisaki thought in annoyance. The good news is he now knows where Eri is. But the annoying part is the brat is with her. But it didn't matter, as he wasn't going to get caught off guard again like last time. So what the plan, boss? Nemoto asked. We'll head back to the base for now and then plan our next move, Chisaki said, walking out of the cell. Put the word out to everyone. We are getting Eri back, no matter what, Chisaki said in a cold tone. Then the 4 looked at each other in discomfort as they didn't know how to break the news to him. Chisaki stopped in his tracks, noticed the looks on their faces, and asked, What's wrong? The 4 of them didn't know what to say, as they knew telling Chisaki with him getting upset. so Kurono decided to step up and tell him instead. You see, young master, going back to the base may not be a wise chance, Kurono said. Why is that? Chisaki asked. Kurono did a heavy sigh as he might as well break the bad news to his boss. The heroes launched an assault on the Shai Hasekai household a few hours ago, which was led by the #1 hero All Might, he said, making Chisaki's eyes widen in surprise. What? Chisaki yelled out. But how did they? Apparently, someone tipped them off on what we're doing. They know everything about our plans to make quirk-destroying bullets, how to navigate around underground hideouts, and about everyone's quirks, Kurono said. Chisaki was shell-shocked from what he just heard. It was like he was having some kind of bad dream. How did the heroes ever know about our plan? Did someone leak information? Chisaki thought until one thought came to his mind as he clenched his fist in rage. That damn brat. This is his doing. About most of us managed to got away in time, while the rest were captured by the heroes, Mimic said with anger in his voice. What about the old man? Did you get him out in time? Chisaki asked, hoping for some good news. Nemoto shook his head to Chisaki and said, I'm sorry, but we couldn't get him out in time and the heroes have him now. There was a freaking army of them. We were lucky enough to even get away. Hearing this made Chisaki's blood boil in anger. And the drug? He asked. Taken by the police, along with all of our research on how to make the drug, Kurono said before pulling out a small case from his pocket. Luckily, I managed to grab some quirk-destroying bullets before fleeing the base. Chisaki didn't know if he should be happy or angry by this news. All of his planning and hard work went down the drain by one kid who decided to play the hero. He wanted to let out a scream of rage at all of his losses. He cared nothing for Eri except the need for her blood to create his cure for the world. He was close to a breakthrough but needed more time before he could prefect it. Now with his base of options gone and research taken, he was back to square one and it would take him too much time to start over. He needed to find Eri and finish his cure. The future of the Yakuza depended on his success. That kid is going to pay for cross me. I'll let you have Eri for now, but know this. I will make your death slow and painful, Chisaki thought, swearing vengeance on Ren, Amami, a resident knight. In his room late at night, Ren was sleeping in his bed but was whimpering in his sleep as he was having some kind of nightmare. Help, someone, anyone, please come and help us. The voice of a teenage girl crying out for help. The girl had long ash blonde hair and cold blue eyes. She was wearing a French combat dress that was colored black and dark green with a white skirt with black high-knee socks with brown combat boots and was wearing a hair accessory with 2 red roses on both sides. Arg, Ren groans in frustration as he watches the girl. Unknown Knight. In his dream, Ren sees some kind of hellish war zone. He sees a number of soldiers fighting against monsters that look like big stuffed animals. But those monsters are brutally killing the soldiers in the worst possible way. Watching this made Ren stare in utter shock, unable to help these men as they were being killed. He then sees 8 teenage girls dressed in some kind of heroic combat costume fighting against those monsters. They were all fighting against those monsters much more easily than the soldiers but were still somewhat struggling against them. He then saw 2 of the girls being killed by those creatures. One of the girls had her head ripped by a dinosaur-like creature, and the other was melted alive down to the bone by a slime creature. Watching this made Ren want to scream his head off, unable to help those poor girls in their last moments alive. He felt so powerless right now, hoping this would end soon. Then he sees that the ash-hair girl running on the ruined battlefield as it was set on fire, and explosions appeared around the area. She soon found one of her wounded comrades lying on the ground, bleeding out due to her injuries. It was the shoulder-length blonde-haired woman. Francine, the ash-hair girl, cried out as she quickly knelt down to her commander, picked her up, and held her in her arms. Francine, I'll bring Kurumi over right away. It's hopeless, Francine mutters as she is losing too much blood. There isn't time. Francine, Asuka mutters in worry for her leader and comrade. Asuka, Francine mutters as she slowly and weakly raises her hand to Asuka. You must be our next leader. No, don't say that, Asuka told her. Protect this world. It has a lot of problems, but lots of beautiful things, too, Francine said as she caressed Asuka's cheek. Asuka then remembers the time when they used to have burgers and fries in their favorite fast food restaurant to celebrate a successful mission and victory. I'm counting on you, Asuka, Francine said as her hand fell to the ground while dying in Asuka's arms. Asuka's eyes widened as tears fell from them before screaming in anguish over the loss of Francine's life. Ren just watched all of this in horror. He may not know this Asuka girl personally, but he can understand the pain she was going through right. Losing someone you care about right in front of your eyes and not being about to anything about it. There was one thing that the ranger was feeling right now. And that was rage. Unbelievable amount of rage for those monsters responsible for all those people's deaths, the destruction they caused. The 3 other girls' deaths, and worst of all, making Asuka cry. Help, someone, anyone, please come and help us. Asuka cried out in agony as tears were falling from her face. I don't want to lose any more people I care about. Please help. I'm a mere resident knight. Ren opened his eyes and gasped for air as he shot straight up from his bed. His face was slightly drenched with sweat as he was breathing heavily from that nightmare he was having. What the hell was that? Ren asked with his hand covering the right side of his face, unable to forget what he witnessed. He was now up thinking about that weird dream he had. But the crazy thing about it was, it felt way too real to be a dream. He just couldn't get the image of that Asuka girl crying out of his head. Are you okay, kid? Holo Tommy asked in worry as he appeared. Ren just pants for a few seconds before giving his answer. To be honest, I don't know. Ren said to look down. I just had one of the most messed up dreams in my life. Holo Tommy frowns from hearing. You mind telling me what you were dreaming about? Then for the next 2 minutes, Ren told Holo Tommy about his dream in detail. Huh, I see, Holo Tommy said before speaking again. I think I might know what just happened to you. You do? Ren asked in curiosity. Holo Tommy then nodded to him. Yeah, you had a vision. A vision? Ren asked. Yes. You see, Troy Burrows, the Megaforce Red Ranger, also had the ability to see vision from the future when he was sleeping, even before he became a ranger. You must have inherited his ability from the Morphin Grid, due to the Master Morpher. Holo Tommy explains. I see, but what does it have to do with Asuka? Ren asked. I don't know, but it seems like this battle that you told me about must be happening in another world. Holo Tommy said. Another world? Damn it, Ren said, hitting his fist on the bed. She needs my help. How can I help her and the rest of those girls if I can't even go to their world? Actually, you can, Holo Tommy said out loud. Ren then looked at his teacher in surprise. What do you mean? Ren asked. You see, Time Force developed a device that lets Power Rangers travel between Ranger worlds. The Rangers use it in case of emergencies only, and the Master Morpher has the same device installed into it. Holo Tommy said to the boy. So if I use it, we can head over to Asuka's world and help her, Ren said in hope. Yes, but the only problem is that we don't know where this world is and when this battle will happen. Holo Tommy said, crushing Ren's hopes. So we just wait? Ren asked. I'm afraid that's all we can do at the moment. I know you want to help this girl and her friends, but rushing into this without a plan will just get you killed in the end. Holo Tommy warned him. Ren just hung his head down in disappointment. He wishes that he could do something, anything to help Asuka. Come on, there has to be something I can do, Ren thought as he balled up his fist. He then remembers the painful image on Asuka's face when she was crying. Asuka. Then out of nowhere, Ren's Master Morpher begins to glow. What the? Ren and Holo Tommy both said in confusion. Then a portal opens up in the middle of Ren's room, which surprised both him and Holo Tommy. What the hell? Tommy, did you do that? Ren asked the AI, as he got up from his bed and walked up closer to the portal. No, that wasn't me, Holo Tommy said, shaking his head. If I had the guess, it must have been the Morphin Grid's doing. The Morphin Grid did this? Ren asked in awe. Holo Tommy nodded to him. The vision you had and your desire to help that girl must have made the Morphin Grid use its power to open a portal through the Master Morpher to Asuka's world, so you can help her, he said. Really? Ren asked skeptically. Kid, let me tell you something. The Morphin Grid works in mysterious ways, so don't ever doubt its power. If it's telling you to go through that portal, then I strongly suggest you do it. It might have something to do with that girl from your vision, Holo Tommy said to his student. Ren thought about it for a moment and knew Holo Tommy was right. This was no time to be having doubts. Asuka needs his help and he is going to save her and her friends by putting an end to their war. But what about the others? I'll be walking straight into a war zone. I'm going to need some backup, Ren said to him, remembering how dangerous that place was. Normally I would agree with you on that suggestion, but there's no more time left, Holo Tommy said to him. You'll just have to go in on this one alone. Ren nodded to his teacher in agreement. The longer he waits, the more dangerous Asuka and the others will be. He then looked at Eri, who was still sleeping soundly in her sleep bag. He walked up to her, then softly rubbed the top of her head and smiled at the sleeping girl. I promise I'll be back soon, Eri, Ren said to her before putting on the Master Morpher and facing the portal. You right, Ren? Holo Tommy asked the boy. Yeah, Ren nodded in confidence. All right, but stay alert. You don't know what you might face behind that portal, Holo Tommy warned his student. Ren nodded to Holo Tommy before he disappeared back into the Master Morpher. Alright, let's go, Ren said, stepping into the portal before disappearing behind him. Magical Girl Spec Ops Universe divided by Mount Aso, Kumamoto Prefecture, Kyushu Night. In January of the year 2016, demonic beasts from another world known as the Disaz launched a stealth invasion of the human world. Thanks to their strength and access to magical power, the Earth's military and weapons had proven to be ineffective against these nightmarish creatures, and all hope seemed to be lost. But soon, in February 2017, a race of fairies from another world, who opposed the Disaz, arrived from the Spirit Realm to form an alliance with Earth and created the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization to aid humanity. This resulted in a new light of hope against the Disaz, the creation of the magical girls, young girls who could synchronize with spirits to gain special powers. Together these young girls have won battle after battle against the Disaz, and now the final battle against the Disaz King is about to begin. A few hours after the attack on the Disaz, to locate the Disaz King, 4 out of the 9 magical girls are Kia, Kurumi Mugen, Mia Cyrus, Tamara Volkova, and Lao Pepe managed to regroup with Asuka Atori, who was sitting on the ground with her knees in despair over the lose of her friend, leader Chevalier Francine. Asuka was looking down at her bloody hands in deep despair. "I'm done with this. Since we began our attack, we caused nothing but grief," she said in a broken tone. Magdalena and Hildegard, then Claudia and Francine. "We lost 4 of our friends in a matter of hours." The others were just looking away from her in grief except for Tamara and Mia. Asuka then put both of her hands on her head. What the hell was Francine thinking? "I was never the right one to take her place," she said in horror. "So what's our plan now?" Tamara spoke up, getting Asuka's attention. "Tamara," Asuka said, taking her hands off her hand while looking back at Tamara. "We have to keep going. If we don't, we'll lose everything. Not just those 4, Tamara said while walking up to Asuka. "I can't," Asuka responded. "Yes, you can, Rapture. Get up," Tamara firmly said as she was holding Asuka up. Kurumi saw this and worried. She was about to run to Asuka's aid, but Mia placed her right arm in front of Kurumi, stopping her in place. Kurumi looked at Mia, who slightly narrowed her eyes, telling her not to interfere. "All we need for you is 1 more hour," Tamara said. "1 hour for what?" Asuka asks with her bangs shadow covering her eyes. "For us, we still need your strength. Even the last of it could pull us through." Tamara tried to get her leader's head straight. Asuka then slightly raised her head. "And after that, what you'll do?" she softly asked. Tamara then smiles at her. "I don't know. We'll figure it out then," she said. Asuka looks at Tamara for a second before smiling weakly at her friend. 1 hour of your courage could be everything we need to save the rest of humanity," Tamara said to her. Asuka looked at her and was starting to be convinced by her friend's words. "Okay, 1 more hour," Asuka said, which made Tamara smile, while Mia, Kurumi, and Lao were watching them. Asuka got back on her feet and looked at her blood-drenched hands. She then slapped both her cheeks, regaining her composure, and looked at her teams. "All right, let's go," Asuka said to them. The other then smiled, seeing Asuka's confidence back. "You make it worth the fight. We can do this," Asuka said in determination as her hair was slightly waving from the breeze. Tamara proudly smiles at her leader. "That's right. It's not over yet. I'm still alive and so are my friends," Asuka thought, looking at her friends. Then out of nowhere, a black flying creature headed straight for the girls with an extremely worried look on its face. "This is bad. This is bad. Really, really bad." Chu, a black floating fairy mouse, was freaking out. "Sachu, what's the matter?" Asuka asked the fairy. "I can sense a large number of Disazes heading this way," Sachu said to them. This caused their eyes to widen in shock. "How many?" Asuka asked him. "I don't know. There are way too many to count, Chu. I say there are about over 100 of them. Maybe even more, Chu," Sachu said to them. "Hundreds of them." The 5 girls thought in worry. "No good. We can't waste our magical power on them when we haven't even fought the Disaz King yet," Asuka thought in concern. Then soon the 5 magical girls heard rumbling from the distance and saw a large army of Disaz coming their way. "Oh shit," Mia yelled while pulling out her assault rifle. "They're here. There's so many," Lao shouted. The other girls draw out their weapons as well, ready for the upcoming battle. "Asuka, what do we do?" Kurumi asked her. Asuka tightened the grip on her magical karambit with a determined look on her face. "We fight," Asuka said sternly as she along with the rest of her teammates rushed at the army of Disaz. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the battlefield, a portal opens up, revealing Ren stepping out of the portal as it disappears behind him. Ren looked around to take in his surroundings and had a frown on his face. He can see nothing: dead bodies, smoke in the air, blood on the ground, guns and bullets, broken vehicles, destroyed buildings, and the air sinks. Nothing but death and destruction as far as the eye can see. "It's just as bad as my dream. So this is what a real war zone looks like," Ren sadly said out loud. "That's a war for you, kid. It isn't a pretty sight to behold." Holo Tommy said as he was just as disgusted by this sight too. Yeah, which is why I'm here to end this before any more lives are lost, Ren said to his teacher. Okay, let's get to work. Ren then raises his right hand in the air to use his psychometry ability, as it glows green, and waves his hand to sense his surroundings for any aura signs. This power belongs to Bridge Carson, the SPD, Green Ranger, which lets him sense the auras of anyone or anything in the vicinity. The exact distance limit is unknown. Found anything? Holo Tommy asked. Yeah, I can feel the presence of multiple auras nearby in the southwest of here, and they pretty close too, Ren said, disabling his ability. If I had to guess, Asuka and the other girls are there. That better than nothing, I suppose, Holo Tommy said to him. But if you felt multiple presence there, then they must be fighting. Right, then let's go, Ren said before using his ninja speed to disappear from sight. Unknown to Ren and Holo Tommy, there was a drone that belonged to the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization that was watching over the battlefield to see how the war was going from their war room. Now every government in the world saw Ren appear from the portal, and they were wondering who this mysterious boy was. Was he an enemy, or an ally, or maybe some new kind of threat? Well, everyone was arguing about how to deal with Ren, General Tabira, a high-ranking member of the Spirit Realm military, and the one responsible for the creation of the magical girls and forming an alliance with Earth against the Disaz, was also curious about this young man. She could tell he wasn't ordinary with the abilities he just displayed, and hoped that this wouldn't be a problem for her magical girls. But little did they know, Ren was about to show them something that they had never seen before. The strength of the Power Rangers. The 5 magical girls were pinned down in an unexpected situation after a long horde of Disaz ambushed them to keep the girls from reaching the Disaz King. They were trying their best to kill them all, but the Disaz's numbers were overwhelming and they were running low on magic power. Hang in there, ladies, Sachu said while shooting the Disaz with his deal welding pistols. There are too many of them. Mia spoke with a grim expression as she was shooting down every Disaz in her sight. She was standing next to Tamara and Lao. No matter how many we kill, they just keep on coming, Tamara said while roasting a number of them with her magical flamethrower. Hahaha, kill the humans, a giant rabbit Disaz said creepy as it was leading the charge. This is bad. If we keep this up, we won't have any magic power left before we fight the final boss. Lao breathed heavily as she stroked another Disaz with her magical tonfa. Damn it, Asuka cursed at the large numbers of Disaz were still remaining. She wasn't even certain if they could get out of this alive when they hadn't even fought against the Disaz King yet. Asuka, what do we do? Hirumi whispered in fear as Asuka couldn't answer her best friend's question at the heavy disadvantage that they were in. Before she could answer, a giant Halloween-class dinosaur Disaz approached them, laughing manically as it was clearly enjoying watching the magical girls struggle for their lives. Asuka's eyes widened in pure shock when she recognized that Disaz. It was the same one that killed her friend. That's the same Disaz that killed Magdalena, Asuka thought in pure surprise. Asuka, look out, Hirumi warned her. That broke Asuka out of her surprise when the dinosaur Disaz swung its tail at her, as Asuka was unable to dodge in time. Luckily, the tail hit Asuka's magical barrier, protecting her from a fatal blow, but was still knocked back to the ground by the force. Asuka, Hirumi cried out in fear as the rest of her teammates noticed it too. No, Asuka, the other 3 girls thought in worry. After seeing what happened to her love interest, Hirumi rushed over to her aid only to get her path blocked by several Disaz. Move out of my way, you bastard, Hirumi yelled out in rage as she used her magical syringe to kill every Disaz in her path. Asuka slowly recovered from the attack, and a shadow appeared above her. She looks up to see the dinosaur Disaz who is about to attack again to finish the job. Asuka closed her eyes to prepare for the worst as Kirumi, Mia, Tamara, Lao, and Sachu rushed over to where she was to save her but were unable to due to all the Disaz in their way. One of the drones that belonged to the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization watched in horror as one of their magical girls was about to be killed. Tabira covered her mouth in fear as any one of her girls would die at the hands of those monsters. Francine, everyone, I'm sorry. I failed you, Asuka thought as she was ready to face her death. Asuka, her friends called out to her. The dinosaur Disaz raised its arm in the air and swung it down to kill the magical girl. That is until the hero finally arrives. Spirit of the Tiger, a mysterious voice shouted. Then suddenly out of nowhere, a giant red projection of a tiger attacked the dinosaur Disaz before it could kill Asuka, which caught everyone by surprise as the tiger spirit was fighting back the Disaz away from the magical girl, as it was struggling to put up a fight at the animal spirit's strength. No way. Sachu freaked out at the red giant tiger. What is that? Asuka asked in surprise before she felt someone grabbed her and disappeared from everyone's sight. Asuka, Hirumi cried in fear. Where did she go? Lao asked in confusion. But then all the disas surrounding the girls were killed by multiple quick attacks of air, water, earth, and powerful blows that created shockwaves as they noticed something moving very quickly in a blur, taking out all the disas. What the hell is going on? Mia asked, as she was not the only one confused by this. Is someone responsible for all of this? Tamara asked. The tiger spirit delivers one last final swing with its claws, killing the Halloween class disas as it dies in an explosion, with the spirit of the tiger fading away back into its owner. Have no fear. The mysterious voice spoke again as Kurumi, Mia, Tamara, Lao, Sachu, the Disaz army, and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization looked directly at the person responsible for this and had surprised looks on all of their faces. Why? The voice said. Asuka opened her eyes again to take a look up at her savior in a mix of shock and awe as she was being held in his arms, bride style. A teenage boy with black spiky hair and dressed in sleeping attire, standing on top of a giant boulder as he was holding Asuka in his arms, looked like a princess for all to see. Because I am here, Ren said with a determined smile on his face, as he used one of All Might's famous lines to make a badass entrance. The Power Ranger, Ren Amamiya, was here to steal the show. Magical Girl Spec Ops Universe divided by Mount Aso, Kumamoto Prefecture, Kyushu Night. Everyone couldn't help but stare at the sight before them. Ren was holding Asuka Aka Rapture in his arms, bride style, while standing on top of a boulder looking like someone out of this world. He used his Ninja Ranger powers to reach them in time, and the power of air, water, and earth to kill all the disas surrounding the girls. Okay, I'll be the first to ask this, but who is that? Nia asked her teammates. I have no idea. I don't recognize him from any organization or military branch, Tamara said, taking a closer look at Ren's closer. Given his appearance, he must be a civilian. But what is a civilian doing here in the first place? The entire area was evacuation hours ago before the battle started, Lao said in surprise. He couldn't be a magical girl like us. But he's not an ordinary civilian, Kurumi said, narrowing her eyes in suspicion. Then she noticed something that made her get angry. Asuka was being held in his arms like a princess. That bastard. How dare he hold Asuka in his arms like that? Kurumi thought in a fit of rage as an aura of jealousy surrounded her. Whoever he is, he saved us from certain death, Sachu said in happiness. Meanwhile, Asuka was looking directly at her savior, unable to take her eyes off him. She knew she was about to die then and there, but out of nowhere, someone came to her rescue. The smile he was giving off was kind and warm, as if it was saying that everything was going to be alright. Then Ren looked directly at her, which broke Asuka out of her thoughts. But then she noticed the presence that she was in and blushed madly, as this was the first time a boy had ever been this close to her. And not to mention being held up like a princess being saved. Are you alright? Ren asked the magical girl. Asuka didn't know what to say at this moment, as if her voice was cut off by something. So she just nodded dumbly at him in response, still with a large blush on her face. Good, I'm happy to hear that, Ren said to her with a bright smile. Now then. Ren then jumped off the boulder and landed on the ground, still holding Asuka in his arms, before placing Asuka back on her feet as the rest of her teammates ran towards them. Rapture, are you okay? Tamara asks her friend. Why yes, I'm good, Asuka said, still feeling a little embarrassed. Nia sighs in relief at this. Good, because you almost gave us a heart attack, she said with a smile. Kurumi sharply narrowed her eyes at Ren, as she didn't trust him in the slightest. Who are you? She asked in a demanding tone. Ren didn't say anything, as he was nothing taking any offense by her tone. To them, he was just a stranger who happened to show up out of nowhere and started to fight in their war of his own free will. Who I am doesn't matter right now. Besides, Ren said, pointing at the army of Disas, we have much bigger things to worry about. The girls were now reminded that they were not out of the woods yet, as they still had to deal with the Disas. He's right, war nurse. Now's not really the time to worry about that when the enemy is in front of us, Lao said to her. Kurumi just frowned at this but accepted it, as they were still in danger from the enemy. I don't think you all can last much longer, Sachu said to them in a worried voice. You are almost out of magical power. And even if you do make it out of this in one piece, you won't have enough strength left to fight the Disaz King, Disaz King? Ren thought in curiosity, as he now knew the enemy they're fighting. We know, but, Asuka said with a serious tone, we have to keep fighting if we want to save the world. Holotami can't help but be amazed by this girl's will of detention. Even in the face of death and knowing she has no chance of winning, she still pushes on to protect her world from evil. If she was ever a Power Ranger, then would be one of the greatest ones of all time. Holotami thought. Her team was smiling at their leader as they were ready to fight a hopeless to win in order to save the world from the Disaz threat. That won't be necessary, Ren said, getting their attention. What does that mean? Mia asked. You all did well to survive this long. but now you can leave the rest to me, Ren said to them before walking forward. This surprised the group as he stated that he was going to fight the rest of the Desas on his own without any help. Wait, are you crazy? You can't fight all those Desas by yourself, Hirumi said to him. It's suicidal. Are you trying to get yourself fucking killed? Mia argues too. Ren stopped midway before turning to them. It's like what he said. Ren pointed at Sachu. You're tired and don't have that much power left, and you need to save the rest of it for the fight ahead of you if I'm correct, he said to the girls. But still, it's insane to fight that many Desas on your own without any magic support, Tamara said in a worrisome voice. Exactly, Lao said with a nod. The only thing you're going to do is get yourself killed. Ren let out a small chunk. And who says I can't use magic? He said, making their eyes widen in shock. You can use magic, Asuka asked in surprise. Yep, Ren said to her. So you girls take 5 and leave the rest to me, he said before continuing his walk. Wait, stop, Asuka cried out, stopping the boy again. You don't have to do this. You're right, I don't have to do this. But I want to, Ren said before turning his head to his side with a smile on his face. Besides Asuka, you're the reason I'm here in the first place. This made their eyes widen in pure shock as this stranger called Rapture by her real name. How does he know who I am? Asuka thought in surprise. And what does he mean I'm the reason he's here? Impossible. Our perception blocking magic hides our identity from others. But he was able to tell who Asuka was immediately. Tamara stated. This guy is dangerous. Hirumi thought in suspicion as to how this guy knew Asuka. Not only that, but I got my own buff with those fucking monsters. And I seriously need to take my anger out on something, Ren said in a serious tone before continuing his walk towards the Desas. So like I said before, you can leave the rest to me, girls. Asuka wanted to stop him but something inside of her told her not to. He said he was going to handle it and for some reason, Asuka felt like she believed in his words. What should we do, girls? Sachu asked his teammates. Let's see how this goes first. Asuka spoke up. If it looks like he's having trouble, we'll help him. But are you sure we can trust him? He figured out your identity easily, Hirumi pointed out. Given the circumstances, I don't think we have much of a chance. I mean, he did save Rapture after all, Lao said out loud. Not only that, but we don't have that much power left to keep fighting anyway, Tamara pointed out. Yeah, and truth be told, I'm kind of curious to see what he could do, Mia said with an interesting look on her face. With that said, the 5 magical girls decided to leave this fight to Ren, and only asset him if things go bad for him. Ren now faces the army of Desas who are waiting, not wanting to make a move at the unknown intruder. Alright, you overgrown Build-A-Bear rejects. It's time someone teaches you some manners, Ren said before stopping in his tracks as he changed his Master Morpher into the Mystic Morpher and held it in his right hand. The magical girls and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization were watching him, as they wondered what he was going to do with that device in his hand. What's that thing in his hand? Mia asked. It looks like a cell phone, Lao answered in confusion. A cell phone? What is he planning to do with that? Hirumi asked in a deadpan tone. Wait, that device in his hand. I can sense strong magical power coming from it, Chu, Sachu said, making the girls surprised. You can? Asuka asked him. Yes, but those sometimes straight about this magic he's using, Sachu said in a confused tone. It feels foreign. Like magic I never felt before. Foreign magic, Tamara said as she didn't take her eyes off Ren. Asuka was now curious to see what Ren could do with this foreign magic that Sachu was talking about. Ren took a deep breath before shouting his favorite line of the Power Rangers. It's morphin' time, Ren shouted. It's morphin' time. The 5 girls thought in confusion. Ren flicks the Mystic Morpher cell phone open, presses a button on the side of the Morpher to reveal a ruby tip on the phone, and then types in the code 123. Magical source, Mystic Force, he shouted while doing arm motions before pointing the Mystic Morpher to the sky. Galwit Misto Ranger, a voice announced out loud for everyone to hear. The magical girls heard a mysterious voice and wondered where it came from while Ren's Morpher shot out a lightning bolt, and a magical circle with 5 insignias appeared in the sky. Then a red fire like phoenix descended from the magical circle and appeared before Ren as he posed alongside the creature. Ren looks up to the sky and leaps into the air with ease, shocking everyone who is watching this as he goes through the magical circle, creating his ranger outfit around him from his neck to feet. Ren then lands back on the ground before the helmet with a visor shaped like a phoenix formed around his head. As Ren's suit is complete, he strikes a pose with the cape flowing behind him. Asuka and the other girls were completely shocked at what they had just seen Ren did. The Spirit Realm Treaty Organization along with the Desas army was also dumbfounded by what they saw. Especially Tabira, who was a fan of magical girls, did not expect that to happen from the young boy. Ren grabs his cape with his right hand and twirls around to his left before stopping. Then a red magical circle appears behind him, as flames appear and move around him while he is doing poses. Fearsome as fire, Red Mystic Ranger, Ren shouted while doing a pose, as a pillar of flames erupted behind him with the Phoenix insignia visor on his helmet shining for a brief moment. He wore a red suit with a matching colored cape and shoulder pad. The shoulder pad had 2 black lines going across it and extending through the suit. Both of the lines were connected by an arrow-shaped line pointing downwards printed on the shoulder pad. There was also a golden belt buckle wrapped around the waist. The helmet was shaped to be similar to a phoenix's head. Asuka looked at Ren with a look of disbelief on her face when she recognized what he changed into. He's a Super Sentai, Asuka thought in pure shock. When Asuka was a little girl, she was a huge fan of magical girls and wanted to become one of just the magical girls she watched on TV as a kid. But she was also aware of the Super Sentai. Heroes dressed in spandex outfits fight against monsters and evil creatures just like the magical girls. But she was more into magical girls than Super Sentai, since Super Sentai was more around the boys' fan service than girls. But now here in the flesh was a real-life Sentai. With his help, maybe they might have a chance to end this war. Asuka wasn't the only one dumbfounded by this, as the other girls had their own reactions. Hirumi had a surprised look on her face as she recognized that Ren turned into a Super Sentai as she grew up in Japan and knew that Sentai was just as popular as magical girls. Lau found what Ren did was pretty cool as she was looking forward to seeing what Ren was capable of. Tamara was now interested upon seeing Ren, who was using fire-based magic like her magical flamethrower. Mia just thought how badass Ren looks right now, even if he is in spandex. The Desaz army finally snapped out of their surprise as they had enough of the human and wanted to kill him. Kill him, one of the Desaz ordered the others as they all rushed at Ren to kill him. Ren leaps over to the side before turning around to them. You fight with words. So be it, Ren said. A giant caterpillar Desaz rushes at Ren for an attack, but he unsheathes his Magi staff to counter the Desaz. I know that Midoriya and Nick already did this, but I want to try this just once, Ren said before pointing the Magi staff at the Desaz. Magi staff. Ball transformation. The Magi staff released red energy at the caterpillar Desaz, freezing it in place as the Desaz turned into a ball. The magical girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization were shocked and surprised by what happened to the giant Desaz. Then Ren placed his foot on top of the Desaz ball before pointing at the other Desaz. Nice. Who doesn't love soccer? Let's have some kicks. Hiya. Ren then kicks the Desaz ball hard at one of the Desaz, as the force is strong enough to kill the Desaz as it breaks the magical barrier protecting it. But then the Desaz ball bounced off a few more Desaz and killed them upon contact. Then the Desaz ball comes back to Ren, and he kicks it back to the Desaz with a flying spin kick, destroying another Desaz, but it causes the Desaz ball to fling into the air. Ren suddenly leaps into the sky and kicks the Desaz ball back down with a backflip. The Desaz ball comes back down at incredible speed, causing an explosion upon contact with the ground, killing a group of multiple Desaz at the same time. The Magical Girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization couldn't believe what they had just seen. Ren took out a number of Desaz by using another Desaz like a soccer ball. Dude, Mia said in awesome at how cool that was. Amazing. Lau shares the same expression as Mia. When Ren lands back on the ground, he notices a group of Desaz changing at him. Ren smiles and holds up his Magi staff. Magi staff. Sword mode, he said as the short staff turned into a sword, which made everyone surprised yet again. Ren spins the sword in his hand before running towards the Desaz, as some of the Desaz launch magical blasts at the Red Ranger. But Ren jumps up in the air to avoid the attack as an explosion occurs behind him, looking like a boss. Ren landed in the middle of an open area, currently surrounded by a number of Desaz. He wasted no time swinging his sword into the enemy as he killed one of them with a single strike, then killed 3 more by swinging his sword widely around himself. A goblin Desaz rushes at Ren with a spear, only for him to counter it with a roundhouse kick and cut the goblin's head off, then avoids another attack by running forward and jumping into the air. Flip time, Ren said down a front back in the air, all while killing another large bull Desaz with ease before slowing landing on the ground. Ren cut down a Desaz that was right near him when he landed, then ducked under another attack by spin jump over to the left side and used the momentum of his spin to perform a low sweep on a Desaz leg as it fell on the ground. Then Ren quickly stabbed the Desaz in the stomach and used his fire magic to coat his sword in fire to burn away the monster. A few more Desaz jumped towards him with magical weapons in their hands, but Ren saw this coming and swung his flaming sword to cut down 7 Desaz as they burned away in ash. He then swung his sword around in multiple directions with quick gestures, unleashing waves of flames towards the Desaz, burning and cutting them to death with ease as they exploded. "He's good," Tamara committed to amazing. "Look at him go, Chu," Sachu said. Then a group of Voorhees class fire multiple spells at the ranger, hoping to kill him. But it didn't work as he spotted the assault coming a mile away. Yikes. Ren jumps into the air with a side back flip to dodge the attack, as the spells cause an explosion that kills some of the Desaz behind him. He did multiple backflips in the air as he landed back on the ground. "That all you got?" Ren taunted the enemy while spinning his sword, before rushing at the enemy. The Desaz fired more spells at him as Ren avoided and deflected the attacks away before jumping up high into the air with a rolling front flip. Then Ren spared out his arms as he engulfed his entire body in fire, and the flames took the shape of a phoenix. "I summoned the power of the phoenix," Ren shouted before sweeping down at blazing speed at a group of 30 Desaz while slashing with his fire sword and hitting them with his phoenix fire as he covered the group of Desaz in flames. When he appears out of the group of Desaz and stops a few feet away from them, the flames around his dispelling with his back turned to them. "Checkmate." Ren snapped his finger, which made the Desaz behind him roar in pain as they exploded at the same time. He slowly walked away from the explosion like a badass. "That's hot," he said with a smile. "I don't believe what I'm seeing here," Kurumi said with widened eyes. "He's amazing," Asuka said in awe as if she was actually watching a Sentai episode. The Spirit Realm Treaty Organization was watching all this in both shock and amazement, as this mysterious boy was easily slaughtering the Desaz like they were mere toys. His strength was equal to that of a magical girl, maybe even more, as the boy fought unpredictably, with a fighting style unpredictable to them, yet there's no denying his skills with both melee weapons and fire magic. After witnessing this firsthand, the world governments were now interested in this boy's powers. Even Tabira couldn't help but be amazed at what she was watching. He may not be a magical girl, but there was something about the boy that made her intrigued with him, as she wanted to watch him fight some more, along with seeing more of that strange magic of his. Back to the action. A group of flying Desaz launches an aerial assault at Ren, with them firing multiple blasts of spells at him. "No, you don't," Ren said, switching his sword back to the Magi staff and pointing it upwards to the incoming attack. "Red Mystic Ranger, counter spell," he said, summoning a red giant magical circle in the air to stop the multiple spells attack from reaching him, and dispelled them all. "He countered all those spells, Chu," Sachu stated in surprise. This ended up enraging the flying Desaz as they regrouped their formation to prepare for another strike again. "This is getting me nowhere. Time to take this battle to the sky," Ren said before pulling out his Mystic Morpher to use another spell, Nisto Eroton. Then a broomstick appeared in front of Ren as he grabbed it in his left hand, which confused everyone who was watching as they were wondering why he summoned a Meyer broomstick. Ren then typed in the spell code 129 before throwing the broomstick in the air as he pointed his morpher at it. "Galwit Misto Eroton," Ren said as the broomstick turned into a hovering bike called the Mystic Racer as it was floating in the air. Sweet, it worked. This made the jaws of the magical girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization drop at what they saw the boy do as he turned broomstick into a hoverbike. Even Tabira, who was a magic expert, has never heard or seen of a spell like the one Ren just used. "A hoverbike," Asuka cried out. "Not just anyone, but a magical one," Tamara shouted. "What kind of magic does that?" Hirumi asked in shock. "And why can't we do shit like that?" Leah asked in a surprised, complaining tone. "Just what is up with this guy's magic?" Lau asked. Ren jumped onto his Mystic Racer and moved his hand in front of the racer to pour his magic into the hoverbike, activating the engines. "Firing engines," he said before placing both hands on the handle of the Mystic Racer. "Let's ride." Ren then took off into the sky at high speed. The Desaz from the ground and sky fired a blast of magic at the Red Ranger, but the Mystic Racer was too fast for them as Ren was avoiding every shot sent at him and was getting closer to the flying Desaz. "Time to level up the playing field," Ren said, pulling out his Magi staff. Dojika. He cast another spell as a group of flying Desaz was trapped in a sphere of fire, and the trapped Desaz evaporated from the blazing heat of the sphere. The remaining flying Desaz in the sky tried to fly away as they fired more spells at Ren. But it was all in vain because the Mystic Racer was just too quick for them to fly away or get a hit in on him. Ren then changed his Magi staff to sword mode. He quickly slashed every single Desaz in the sky as he flew past them. Back on the ground, the 5 magical girls and Sachu were watching the battle unfold. Asuka's mouth promptly opened into a perfect O while her eyes widened to the size of a saucer, unable to speak or think. All she could do was look at this fight in awe along with the rest of her teammates as they were unable to look away. This was unlike anything she or her comrades had seen. In fact, it looked like Ren was used to fighting multiple opponents at once. He was using fire-based magic and swordsmanship skills with a mix of martial arts to kill the Desaz, and riding on top of a hoverbike that you would only see in sci-fi movies, along with other magic that she had never seen before, as he used it to kill every single Desaz with ease. Sachu did meant that the magic he used was foreign, so it does make sense that she didn't know the magic he was using. To Asuka, his magic was beautiful as the flames danced around his body, and weapon like a majestic bird in the sky. Asuka never believed in God, however, there were times when she questioned if God had done things for a purpose. Was everything that transpired in this world a part of this design? Was there a reason behind the Desaz? What is the purpose of her parents' death? But there was no answer to her questions. However, this boy whom she knows nothing about was a Super Sentai who just appeared out of nowhere, saved her life, and decided to fight the army of Desaz by himself and completely overpower them despite how outnumbered he was. He even knew her name despite the perception-blocking magic hiding her identity, and said that she was the reason that he was here in the first place, which confused her. Asuka had so many questions for him right now but decided to hold off on them until the fighting was over. Just who are you? Asuka thought, looking at Ren finishing off the last Desaz in the sky. Now that the sky was clear, Ren was looking down below to see how many of them were left. Looking like there about 100 other them left. Good, cause I still need to let out some more pain. Ren thought before the Desaz on the ground fired more spells at him. Ren did multiple quick maneuvers with the Mystic Racer, dodging a series of blasts aimed at him, before flying straight up into the sky, and then performing an aerobatic loop as he flew straight down to the ground. When he was close enough, Ren pulled up as the Mystic Racer was flying a few inches from the ground, with him charging at the remaining Desaz at an incredible speed. Time to try out another spell code, Ren said, bringing out his Mystic Morpher as he typed in the code 124 before pointing it forward. Galwit Misto Matro, he shouted right before 3 magical blasts hit him dead on, as it caused an explosion that created a cloud of black smoke. The Desaz laughed as they finally killed the Power Ranger, while the magical girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization had worrisome expressions on their faces as they thought Ren was killed. Oh no, Sachu cried. Did they kill him? Lao asked, hoping he was alive. That idiot. What was he thinking rushing at them like that? Mia said in a more worried than angry voice. I don't think anyone could have survived that. Hirumi stated in a slightly sorrow voice. I know we should have fought with. Tamara said in a regretful tone. Asuka fell down on her knees in shock, with tears running down her cheek as the person who saved her life a few minutes ago was killed in front of her eyes. And the worst part about this is that she couldn't do anything to help, just like the rest of her friends who died in the war. His death was on her, all because he came here to help her. No, this can't be happening again. Someone else died at the hands of those monsters, all because I didn't do anything. Asuka thought in despair as she blamed herself for Ren's death. Then out of nowhere, they heard the sound of an engine roaring as Ren came bursting out of the black smoke cloud, riding atop a new vehicle that was soaring in midair. The Mystic Speeder. Mystic Speeder. Woohoo. Ren shouted out loud as everyone who was watching was beyond shock that he was still alive and riding a new vehicle before his motorcycle landed on the ground as Ren stopped himself with a hard turn. Oh yeah, not bad, huh? He asked while holding onto the handles with his left foot on the ground to keep his balance. The Desaz were beyond surprised by this as they thought he was dead from their last attack. Soon, the mood changed as the magical girls all had smiles on their faces. He's alive, Asuka said as she felt unbelievably relieved seeing Ren all right. Thank goodness. Damn, that nearly gives me a scare, Lao said with a heavy sigh as her eyes were closed. This guy, Mia said with a grin while shaking her head. Now he has a kick-ass motorcycle. What's next? A giant freaking robot, she jokingly said. Unknown to the blonde American, she couldn't be more right to that question than she realized. For a minute there, I thought we lost him, Tamara said with a smile. Yeah, Hirumi said with a nod. Yeah, now this is my kind of ride, Ren said as he revs up his bike. Punch it. Gunning the engine, Ren rode towards the remaining Desaz's left. Destroy him. The giant ribbit Desaz ordered the other Desaz as they all charged at Ren. Then 2 Desaz fired magical blasts out of their mouths at Ren. But he avoids both shots as he continues his drive with explosions from the blast accruing behind him. Not this time. Ren shouted, lasers, fire. Then the Mystic Speeder fired 2 laser blasts from the headlights, killing multiple Desaz in an explosion. This further surprised the magical girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization as they had never seen anything like this before. It can shoot lasers. Satu cried out in utter surprise. That's so cool, Chu. Incredibly, Asuka said with interest. Oh, come on. Is there anything this guy doesn't have? Hirumi said in a slightly complaining tone as the Power Ranger was throwing one surprise after another at them. The real question is, how does he have something like that? Tamara said in surprise. I know what I want for Christmas, Nia said in amaze as she wished she had a kick-ass motorcycle like that. Same here, Lao said in agreement as she wanted a motorcycle like Ren's. Ren moved towards the two Desas that attacked him not too long ago as they jumped to attack Ren from above. But the Red Mystic Ranger jumps off a mini hill to get some air as well and then fires two laser blasts at both Desas, killing them in midair. When Ren lands back on the ground, he drives to a giant Halloween-class frog Desas as the monster opens its mouth and spits powerful acid out at him. Hope you're hungry, Ren asked while evading the acid as it immediately melted the ground upon contact, before launching a magical missile into the frog's open mouth from the tip of the head. The giant Halloween-class frog Desas was killed in a big fiery explosion that sent most of the Desas around it flying or killed. Whoa, Ren did a hard side turn as he slid on the ground to the left side to dodge multiple attacks from the Desas. He revved up his engine as he pulled back on the right handle a few times. It's showtime, Ren said before performing a wheelie with the Mystic Speeder while turning the motorcycle to the right side. He then drove his way to the Desas while still doing a wheelie, then used his Ranger enhanced strength to pull the Mystic Speeder in the air for a jump before firing more laser blasts at the monster, destroying them swiftly. After that, more Desas charged at him with weapons in hand. You ready for more? Ren asked while doing another wheelie to a group of Desas, before firing a blast one more big Desas. Yeah. Then he U-turns to the left as he roads back to the group, driving past them to the big Desas he shot early. Ren did one more wheelie as the front wheel of the Mystic Speeder hit the monster in the stomach, causing it to fall on its back. Over the top, Ren yelled as he drove over the Desas' big body while killing it in the process. Woohoo. He rode off while still evading attacks from the Desas. The Desas fire more magic blasts at him, only for Ren to jump off a mini hill to dodge the attack and multiple Desas under him. YEHAW. Ren cried out in excitement while an explosion occurred behind him, looking like a badass as the Mystic Speeder slowly landed on the other side of the ground like a feather before he drove off to kill more Desas. As Ren drove, he let out even more laser blasts to clear his path of enemies for him to drive up on top of a small hill before stopping the bike. Then a number of lesser Desas rushed at him for an ambush, but Ren performed a donut with his motorcycle as it was kicking sand, dust, and pebbles that hit all the Desas, temporarily blinding them. Ren took advantage of this to shoot more lasers to end the lesser Desas' lives, all while still doing a donut with the Mystic Speeder. Oh yeah, Ren cried before driving down the hill with more spells were fired at him as smoke covered their vision of Ren. But no matter how many times they tried, the Desas couldn't land a hit on the Ranger as Ren drove out of the smoke before firing more laser, killing every Desas that was hit and creating explosions while driving through the group of them, still blasting the monsters to death. Yeah, Ren used his enhanced strength to pull the Mystic Speeder high into the air again as he flew straight to another Halloween-class gorilla. Check this out, Ren said while pulling out his sword, engulfing it in fire, and turning his motorcycle upside down. The Halloween-class gorilla threw a powerful right hook to crush Ren, but due to the momentum of the turn, Ren was about to move out of the way of the Desas' right hook and swung his sword at the gorilla's arm, cutting and burning through it as the blade traveled to its head, chopping it straight off the Halloween-class's shoulder as the flames travels to the rest of the gorilla's body, burning it away to nothing but ashes. With that taken care of, the Mystic Speeder turned straight back up thanks to the momentum Ren used, as he landed perfectly back on the ground before doing a hard right U-turn to dodge more blasts. What the hell, was the question going through the minds of the magical girls and fairy spirit as they just watched the scene before them with shock evident on their faces. Even the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization, along with Tabira who was watching the scene from their personal drone, couldn't believe the scene that they were witnessing. Woohoo. The Red Mystic Ranger yells as he is literally riding on a motorcycle that shoots lasers while killing every single Desas there like it was nothing to him. Even performed the most insane of tricks on the vehicle as he was defying the laws of physics, all while effectively mowing down the Desas, stunning everyone watching this with the promptly drop their jaws. Back to the action, Ren jumps off another mini hill. Watch this, he yelled while firing more lasers at the Desas in midair as he slowly landed back on the ground, driving away. There weren't that many Desas left to fight as Ren killed all of them. After noticing their low numbers, the remaining Desas got desperate and attacked the ranger wildly. Come on. But Ren did a lot of quick maneuvers and turns with his motorcycle to evade every single one of their strikes, as he drove away from them to get some distance. Then Ren jumps off a mini before pointing his magi staff back at the group of Desas behind him. Later, Ren shouted before firing a powerful fire spell at the Desas, killing them all in a large explosion as their body parts were sent flying around as well. Then he lands on the ground, right before he turns the Mystic Speeder straight at the last remaining Desas on the battlefield. The giant Halloween class rabbit Desas was completely stunned by what it just saw. Its fellow Desas were completely annihilated in a matter of minutes by this one human that ruined their plan to ambush the magical girls and kill them before they reached their king or weakened them so they couldn't fight back. This made the Halloween classes very angry as it used all of its magic to enlarge itself, making the monster even more powerful than it already is. Angry now, are you? Ren asked as he revved up his engine. Good, now let's finish this, he said, activating the acceleration on the Mystic Speeder as he drove full speed at the rabbit Desas. Ren shot more lasers at the Desas, only for the monster to block the attack with its arms as Ren jumped up in the air with the Mystic Speeder, flying straight at the Halloween class. Coming at you, block this, Ren said while tipping the motorcycle to the side as he was planning on ramming the Desas with the bottom of the Mystic Speeder. The giant Halloween class rabbit Desas in response countered the attack with a punch. But due to speed and weight of both Ren and motorcycle, the Desas's arm was pushed back as it turned to the left side, along with Ren, who took advantage of this and fired multiple shots at the Desas in point-blank range, damaging it as Halloween class was pushed back. Ren then used the momentum of the turn to land back on the ground perfectly as he did some maneuvers to make sure he didn't crash. The Halloween class rabbit Desas was going to go down without a fight as it fired a magical blast from its mouth at Ren. But he rode straight at the beast's attack, which made the girls panic and fear. Watch out, they all cried out together. When the blast was almost close to him, Ren used all of his strength to jump into the air with his bike, avoiding the attack. Fire, Ren shouted, firing a laser blast at the Halloween class rabbit Desas, damaging it severely. This caused the Halloween class to scream in pain as the Desas felt electricity coming out of its body. Whoa! Ren cried as he landed on the ground before doing a hard turn to stop himself and looked straight at the Halloween class. Show's over. Checkmate. He snapped his finger right before the Halloween class rabbit Desas fell over on the ground and exploded to death. With that done, there were no more Desas left on the battlefield as Ren wiped them all out. Asuka, Kurumi, Mia, Tamara, Lao, Sachu, and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization are now staring bug-eyed silently at the Power Ranger for what he just did. This mysterious person just took out an army of over 100 Desas single-handedly without even breaking a sweat in only a few minutes. That's something soldiers or magical girls couldn't do, but yet he was able to pull it off. Ren got off the Mystic Speeder as it disappeared in a flash of light and looked at the 5 girls. He noticed they were staring at him strangely. Hey Tommy, I think I might have broken them, Ren said with a grin. Well, concerning what you just did, anyone would have had the same reaction as them. Holo, Tommy said, grinning back. Makes sense, Ren said with a little chuckle. Guess I better go say hi, he said before walking over to them. Ren walked at a casual pace as the 5 girls and Sachu looked at him in awe. As he approached them, they managed to break out of their stupor and prepare to face the person for saving them. He then stopped a few inches away from them. Power down, Ren said, demorphing back to normal as this surprised them a bit. So, hey. There was an uncomfortable silence as they didn't know what to say to him. But Asuka was the first one to step up to him. Thank you for your help with the Desas and for saving our lives. Asuka said, uncomfortable, nothing knowing his name. Ren Amamiya, but you can just call Ren. Ren said to her with a smile. Pleasure to meet you, Asuka. I see. Well, Ren, thank you for saving us, Asuka said to him with a light blush. Don't worry about it. It was nothing, Ren said casually as he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Nothing? You took out over 100 Desas by yourself. That was more than nothing, Lao said to him. Desas? So that's what monsters are called, Ren said, confusing them. Wait, you don't know who the Desas are? Kurumi asked in suspicion. No, Ren shook his head. This made their eyes widen in surprise as he didn't know anything about the Desas. How do you not know about the Desas? Mia yelled at him. They've been terrorizing the entire world for almost 2 years now. Everyone knows about them. Well, here's the thing, Ren said, rubbing the back of his neck, as he didn't know how to explain this to them. I'm not exactly from this world, he said, surprising them. Does that mean your reinforcement was sent here by Spirit Realm, from General Tabira Chu? Sachu asked him as the magical girls cringed at the meaning of the fairy general, and her weird way of showing her love to the magical girls. I have no idea what that place is, and again no. Ren response, are with the Disaz then? Tamara cautiously asked. Okay, why would I be with those freaking monsters? Ren angrily said to her as he found that offensive. I come here to help you fight against those Disaz freak. Right? Stupid question. Sorry. Tamara apologizes. It's fine, I forgive you. Ren said to her. Ren, Asuka got his attention. If you're not from our world or the spirit realm, then where do you come from? Ren just sighs to himself as he might as well tell them, hoping they believe him. Okay, this is going to sound crazy and unbelievable, but everything I'm about to tell you is true. Ren said to them. The truth is I come from a completely different universe than this one. He said, making their eyes widen in shock. We should probably talk about this somewhere since we don't know when the Disaz will attack again. Ren suggests to them. Why yes, that might be the best idea. Asuka stunnedly said as the group left the area they were at to somewhere safe. Ren and the 5 magical girls was located in an abandoned house living room that was empty due to the people living there evaluating the area before the war started. Ren was sitting on a couch next to Lao and Mia, who seemed to take an interest in him. Asuka and Kirumi were sitting on the other side of another couch with a table in the middle with Sachu floating next to them. And Tamara was standing with her back against a wall, next to a window to keep lookout for the enemy. The girls explained to Ren how the Disaz attacked their world, how the spirit realm came to aid their world and to fight against the Disaz, and how they were selected to become magical girls to fight against the Disaz. They even told him about their plan to kill the Disaz king to end this war. Ren and Holotommy took in all of this information and were kind of disgusted by this. The government focuses middle school girls on fighting in a deadly war against dangerous monsters. But they had no room to judge since the Power Rangers did the exact same thing, but the difference is that they were chosen to be heroes, not focused on like Asuka and the other girls. I see. You guys sound like you have it pretty rough, Ren said in a sympathetic tone. Yeah, you could say that again, Mia said with a sigh. We lost a lot of people because of this fight, Asuka said, looking a little frustrated as she was looking down at her hands. Including our friends, she sadly said. Asuka. Kirumi comforted her friend as she hated to see her like this. Ren looked at her with a sad look as he remembered his vision. I'm sorry about what happened to your friends, Asuka. Maybe if I arrived here sooner, I could save them as well, Ren said in a painful voice. No, there's no reason for you to apologize, Asuka said to him in a worried tone. Besides, we wouldn't be here right now if you hadn't come to rescue us. She's right. You had no idea about what was going on until a while ago, and you were just outside anyway, so you don't have to feel responsible for their deaths, Tamara said to him. Not only that, but you saved our lives today. Yeah, you managed to save us in the end from the Disaz, Lao said, placing a hand on his shoulder. And you kicked some major ass in the process. And that's a win in my book, Nia said with a grin. Yes, thank you for saving Asuka from the Disaz, Hirumi said to him, even if it does sound kind of focused. We definitely owe you for your help, Sachu said to him. Ren just looked around at them and couldn't help but smile. Like I said, it was nothing. I'm just happy that I made it in time to save you girls, Ren said with a warm smile that made the 5 magical girls blush when they saw his smile. He's so cute. They all thought at once. Anyway, Asuka said, fake coughing to fight back her blush. Since we told you about us, you mind telling us the reason you came to our universe, and what are those powers of you used again the Disaz since you're not a magical girl like us? She asked him. Ren knew he had to tell them about the Power Rangers who he couldn't say normally to others. But they willingly told him about themselves, and it was only fair he do the same in return. So Ren was going to take a chance. Sure, but before I tell you, can I ask you for your real name? Ren asked, throwing them off guard. I noticed that you have all been using codenames this entire time, but I would like to get to know the real you. But if you don't want to tell me, then I'll respect that. They looked at each other for a moment and thought about it before Lao spoke. I don't really mind. If you guys are alright with it, Lao said. I got no problem with it, Mia gave her answer. Well, he did save our lives. It's the least we could do, Tamara said, shunning her shoulder. I don't see the harm in revealing my name, since you already know it at this point, Asuka said, making the ranger a little embarrassed. If Asuka is okay with it, then so am I, Kirumi said with a nod. Okay, we're in agreement. Then I'll go first, Lao said before introducing herself. My name is Lao Pepe, magical girl Shantulin. I'm the magical girl that represents China. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ren, she said to him. Shantulin. Did she base her codename off of a city? Tommy thought in curiosity. Sup, man. The name's Mia Cyrus, magical girl just cause. I'm the magical girl that represents America, the US, freaking a nice to meet you, Mia said to him with pride in her voice. Her codename is a play on words. Pretty clever of her. Tommy thought. My name is Tamara Volkova, magical girl Phoenix. I'm the magical girl that represents Russia. I would like to thank you again for helping us in our hour of need, Ren, Tamara said, giving him a slight bow. Phoenix. Kinda strange since Ren used the red mystic ranger powers to save them. Tommy thought at the strange coincidence. I'm Kurumi Mugen, magical girl war nurse. I'm the magical girl that represents Japan. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kurumi said to him with a sweet smile. But Ren could tell the last part of what she said was forced, given the slight twitching of her mouth that he noticed. But he chose to ignore it as that didn't matter right now. Why do I have a strange feeling that she's letting on more than she is? Tommy thought about Kurumi. My name is Asuka Atori, magical girl Rapture, and the leader of this squad. Just like Kurumi, I also represent Japan as a magical girl. It's nice to meet you, Ren, Asuka introduced herself. The same girl from Ren's vision. Tommy thought. Hey there, the name is Sachu Chu. I'm a fairy from the spirit realm who is assigned to help and support the magical girl in and out of combat. Hope we can get along, Chu, Sachu happily said to him. What an energetic little fairy he is. Tommy thought with a chuckle. Right, so Asuka, Mia, Kurumi, Lao, Tamara, and Sachu. Got it, Ren said as he remembered their names before he introduced himself to them. My name is Ren Amamiya. I'm a Japanese American who was born and raised in Japan. And I am a Power Ranger, and the leader of the Power Rangers Hero Force. This confused the girls as they never heard of the Power Rangers before. What's the Power Rangers? Lao asked in curiosity. Ren sighed to himself as this universe had no rangers in it and knew he had to explain it to them. Okay, this going to take some explaining, so pay close attention, alright, Ren said to them as they nodded to him in response. You see, the Power Rangers are teams of heroes with extraordinary powers that fight together to protect the people of their world from evil threats whenever they pop up, he said as they paid close attention. That does sound a lot like Super Sentai and Magical Girls, Asuka thought. So basically what you're saying is that your universe had a bunch of costumed heroes that saved the day over and over again, Mia said, quickly catching on to what he said. Not my universe, but you're not far off the mark, Mia, Ren said, confusing her. What? Mia said. Like I said, this is going to take some explaining, so I have to take it one step at a time, Ren said, putting his morpher on the table for everyone to look at the strange golden device with interest. What is that? Sachu said, looking at the device closer. It's called the Master Morpher. That's what I used to turn into a Power Ranger. It originally belonged to a man named Tommy Oliver, who was a Power Ranger just like me who lived in another universe. But he had no choice but to give up the life of a ranger as he was reaching old age. So he decided to send away his morpher to another universe and pass on the power to someone else who would carry the legacy of the Rangers. Ren explained to them. That's kinda sad to hear, but I guess it can't be helped when someone gets old, Kurumi commented. And the person he gave his morpher to was you, right, Ren? Tamara asked. Yes and no. To be completely honest, I never met the guy. But his morpher selected me to wield its power, Ren said. It's chosen you like it had a mind of its own, Asuka asked in surprise. Kinda, but I'm not really sure, Ren said. But like Tommy once stated is that you can't choose a morpher, it chooses you. When you say it like that, it sounds like not just anyone can be a Power Ranger, Mia said with her finger under her chin. Pretty much, Ren shrugged his shoulder to her before explaining the Rangers' history to them. The story starts many years ago when the evil space sorceress named Rita Repulsa and the alien being known as Zordon battled a war that seemed to drag on for ages. But at their final battle, Rita was able to gain the upper hand by capturing Zordon and trapping him in the time stream. But not before Zordon trapped and sealed her away in a space capsule for over 10,000 years, he said, surprising them. 10,000 years. That's a long time, Chu, Sachu cried out in surprise. But there's more to this, right? Kurumi asked the Rangers. Ren nodded to her in response before continuing. Despite sealing the evil sorcerers in her prison, Zordon knew that one day Rita would return once again and threaten the universe. Then many years later that fear became reality when in the year 1993, Rita's minions found her prison and released her. Once freed, Rita along with her army begins an assault on Earth to conquer the planet. Ren explained. I guess being in prison for thousands of years didn't change her, Lao commented with a deadpan look. Some people just have to learn things the hard way, Asuka said, shaking her head. You're not wrong about that, Asuka, Ren said to her. Anyway, when Zordon learned of Rita's return, he began to put his plan into motion that he'd been setting up for years to combat Rita and her forces. In the American city of Angel Grove, Zordon selected 5 teenagers with attitude and gave them power coins and power morphers to harness the power of the dinosaurs to become the Earth's first Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Ren said as we were listening in interest on how the Power Rangers were created. So that's how the Power Rangers were made. Interesting, Tamara said, intrigued. That doesn't sound too different than us magical girls, Mia said with a grin. After a year of fighting for their planet, the Mighty Morphin Rangers managed to stop Rita and bring peace to the world. But after that, new threats would show themselves as new generations of Power Rangers would appear and fight to protect their planet and the people on it. Ren said to them as he noticed the girls and Satchu had a look of interest on their faces. But instead of explaining it, let me show you who we are. Ren had Holo Tommy play a quick video of the Power Rangers for the girls to see through the Master Morpher. Magical Girl Spec Ops Universe divided by Mount Aso, Kumamoto Prefecture, Kyushu Night. Ren, Asuka, Kirumi, Lao, Mia, Tamara, and Satchu were currently in an abandoned house watching a 5-minute quick video of the Power Rangers as they were beyond intrigued with what they were watching. Colorful costume heroes from different teams fight against aliens, dinosaurs, demons, and other monsters to protect their world from being destroyed. It was mind-blowing and impressive at the same time. Ren told them about his world being a superhuman society, quirks, and how the Hero Force Rangers were the current new Power Rangers, which surprised them. So does anyone have any questions? Ren asked them as Mia was the first to speak up. Yeah, I got one. You and your friends are the current generation of Power Rangers. Mia asked. Yeah, we are. There's only 4 of us at the moment, but I'm hoping we'll get more members in the near future. Ren said. You said something about your world being a superhuman society with 80% of the population being born with superpowers called quirks. Tamara asked in curiosity with Ren nodding in response. That's pretty cool. Lao complimented with interest. I would love to see your world. I mean, it can be interesting for someone who isn't used to it, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, Ren said to them. As you may already know, there are some bad people in the world that would abuse their powers the first chance they get. That's right, you said your world is basically a comic book with superheroes and villains, Asuka said with some concern in her voice. Ren let out a sigh as he spoke. Yeah, pretty much. I go to one of the most famous hero schools in the entire world. They trained us on how to be proper heroes when we graduated. He said, a school where they trained heroes. Kirumi said with curiosity. Can I ask you something, Ren? Sure, what is it? Ren asked. You said mostly everyone in your world is born with powers. What's your quirk? Kirumi asked him. Ren's face immediately furrowed from the question, as Kirumi noticed it and could tell that she had stepped on an uncomfortable subject. I don't have a quirk, Ren said as the girls were a bit surprised. I'm one of the 20% of people in the world who aren't born with powers. But we saw you summon that red tiger and move super fast, Asuka said in surprise. That was because of my morpher, Ren said holding up his morpher. Thanks to it, I'm about to use the abilities of all Power Rangers in existence, he said to them. In my world, people like me are referred to as quirkless, those who aren't born without powers. The girls notice a sad tone in his voice, especially Kirumi, who recognizes the look on his face all too well. So are people without powers in your world treated fairly? Kirumi hesitates to ask. Ren then shook his head. No, they aren't. In fact, almost every quirkless person is pretty much treated like second-class citizens with no value to society. Some are pitted or discriminated against by others because of our lack of power. And don't even get me started with the racism and bullying, Ren said sadly to the girls. The magical girls gave him a sympathetic look at how unlucky he was before becoming a Power Ranger. Is just like me right before I met Asuka. Kirumi thought sadly with her head down as she was a victim of bullying too. Asuka balled her fist in rage at how stupid the people in Ren's world are at how they judge others based on their powers. You were bullied too, weren't you? Mia asked in concern. Yeah, from elementary and middle school until I got my morpher, Ren sadly said, making the girl worry about him. But that's enough about me. Does anyone else have any other questions? I do, Satchu said with his hand up. Can you tell us about the magic you used? I'd never seen anything like it before, Chu. Ren didn't see the harm in it and told them about how his magic worked. The magic I used was from the Power Rangers Mystic Force, Ren said to them. Power Rangers Mystic Force? Tamara asked in curiosity. They were a team of rangers that used magic. Their magic was a bit different from yours though. Well, all of you have to synchronize with spirits in order you're used to magic. I have to believe that magic is real for me to use magic. Ren said, surprising them. Wait. Mia shouted out loud in surprise. Are you telling us that you're able to use magic just by believing it's real? Pretty much, Ren said with a nod. That's weird. Lao commented. Hey, I'm not the one who comes up with this stuff, alright, Ren said in his defense. In any case, it's interesting to hear, Chu. I bet General Tabira would love to hear this, Sachu happily said. Who's General Tabira? Ren asked as she sounded important. She's a high-ranking member of the Spirit World military, and is specifically the one responsible for the creation of the magical girls and for forming an alliance with Earth against the Disaz, Tamara explains to him. Sounds like a big shot, Ren said out loud. So any more questions before we head out? I do, Asuka said. You said you came here to help us. How did you know we were in trouble, to begin with, since you were from another universe? Not only that, but how do you know my name even though we never met? She asked him. That's a good question. Hiromi agreed. How do you know Asuka anyway? Ren knew where this was going and was hoping she would believe him. You see, I had a vision about all you, Ren said, confusing them. A vision? Nia asked in confusion. Yeah, Ren nodded. When I went to sleep, I had a vision where I saw you all fighting in this war. I also saw how the other magical girls died, he said in a sad tone before looking at Asuka. Then I saw you, Asuka. Me? Asuka asked. Yes, in my vision, I saw you crying and calling out for help, Ren said, making her eyes widen. You saw that? Asuka asked in shock. I did. And after seeing you in so much pain like that, I knew I had to do something, Ren said in frustration as he clenched his hands together. That's the reason why I came here from my universe, to help end this war and make sure no one else dies. Asuka can't help but be stunned by this. She was the reason Ren was here, coming over from his own universe and risking his own life to fight in their battle. But why? Why would you go so far for complete strangers you never met? And on top of that, this isn't your world. Asuka can't help but ask. It wasn't just her. The other magical girls wanted to know why he would go so far for them too. For 3 simple reasons, Ren said, holding up 3 fingers. Number 1, I'm a Power Ranger. It's my duty to fight for the lives of those who can't fight for themselves, regardless of what world I'm in. He raised 1 finger. Number 2, it was the right thing to do and I would have regretted it for the rest of my life if I didn't come here to save you all from the Disaz. He raised his 2nd finger. Number 3, it's because they make you cry, he said in a serious tone, raising his final finger. Asuka was taken back again by that response. Because I cried, she thought. That unbearable look on your face every time you watch your friends die and hear your painful crying as you were calling out for help, Ren said to her before looking at the others. Watching all of you going through this hell made me want to help you. I come here to save all of you, he yelled out as the girls were taken aback by this. What Ren said made the girls madly blush again, as they didn't expect that from him. In fact, they thought it pretty romantic that a guy was willing to put his life on the line to protect them from harm. They just looked at Ren with both amazement and shock at how he declared he was to help them end this war. I know this isn't my fight or anything, but please let me help you end this war, so no one else will have to die like your friends and the other brave soldiers who risked their lives fighting, Ren asked them with a serious expression. No one said anything as they were still processing everything that Ren said to them. But the first one to speak was Asuka. Ren, Asuka said, walking up to him and placing her hand on his shoulder. It would be a pleasure to have someone like you fight beside us, she said with a smile. Asuka, Ren said in awe. I'll with rapture too, Mr. Spandex. Nia Playful slapped his back. Having a kick-ass Power Ranger fighting with us will make this easier, she said, winking at him with a grin. Same here. I would feel a whole lot better have you watching my back out there. Lao smiled with a nod. So am I, Chu, Sachu happily said. As am I, Tamara said, walking up to the ranger with a smile on her face. You came over here from your own universe to help us in our time of need and showed that you are trustworthy. She then reached out her hand to him. It would be an honor to fight alongside you, Ren Amamiya, she said. Ren in response grabbed her hand and shook it as they formed a mutual relationship with one another. Hirumi let out a sigh as she got up and walked towards Ren. I suppose that your help would be appreciated. And I guess I should say I'm sorry, she said, avoiding eye contact with him. Why are you apologizing? Ren asked. Because I was pretty skeptical of you when you first showed up. But you come over from your world just to help us without much of a reason. I see that I was wrong about you and for that I'm sorry, Hirumi said, sounding sincere. Ren could tell that she really meant it this time as her voice had a bit of regret in it. There's no reason for you to apologize, Kirumi. I don't blame you for being suspicious of me. I'm pretty sure any other person would have felt the same way, Ren said to her, patting her shoulder. Ren, Kirumi said in utter surprise as she was slightly blushing. She was expecting him to be a little upset, but that was the case. Now then, Ren said with a smile but also had a serious expression on his face as he stood up. Why don't we show the Desaz and their king something that they never seen before? The strength of the magical girls combined with some legendary ranger power, he said, holding up his morpher to them. Both the 5 girls and Satu just smiled at what he said and were now even more motivated to do their best to win this war. Sounds good to me, Asuka said with a determined grin. Let's move out. We have a world to save, right? They all cried out together. With their talk over, Ren, the girls, and Satu were currently standing outside of the abandoned house getting ready to head straight to the Desaz King. So where is the Desaz King located anyway? Ren asked them. You guys know where he is, don't you? Yes, we do, Tamara said with a nod. Before we were abused by the Desaz, Satu picked up a very powerful magical signature at the top of that volcano. She pointed to a large volcano in the distance of them. He's there, Ren surprisingly asked, looking at how far they were from the volcano. Yes, Satu said, floating next to him. The magical power from up there is the strongest I felt since the battle started, Chu. That's where we were going until we got abused, Lao said to him. I see, but that's a pretty far walk. Since you are all in the military, don't have any transportation or a helicopter to get there faster? Ren asked them as he didn't want to walk up a volcano. We did have an armed vehicle with us when the fighting first started, but it got destroyed, Asuka said before sighing. And because of all the Desaz running around, the whole area was restricted to a no-fly zone. So fat chance of us flying there, Mia said, rubbing her head in frustration. So you were planning on walking there on foot? Ren asked in curiosity. We don't have much of a choice. So yes, Kirumi said with eyes closed and sighing heavily. That's pretty hardcore, but I can see where they're coming from. Holo Tommy thought as he remembered when he and the other rangers lost their Zords and had to go on their ninja journey to find ninja to get new powers. Regardless of how far it is, we need to hurry before it's too late, Asuka said, which made Ren curious. Why? Ren asked as he didn't know. That's right, he doesn't know, Lao said out loud. Know what? Ren asked in confusion. The Desaz wants to use humanity as an energy source, and in order to access this, the Desaz King has to fully manifest into our world. If that happens, every army in the world will be wiped out in only 2 days, Asuka said in a grim tone. That sounds bad, Ren thought in concern. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go kill this bastard. You read mind, Ren, Mia said as she was starting to like Ren even more now. It would take us at least 2 hours to reach the top of the volcano on feet, Tamara said as Ren had a better idea. Screw walking. I have a better idea to get us to the volcano faster, Ren suggested as they looked at him. You do. What is it? Satu asked the ranger. You'll see, Ren said as moved to the street and held out his hand. So do you girls know how to drive a motorcycle by any chance? He asked, turning his head towards them. Yes, we have been trained to operate any type of vehicle, Kurumi said to him. Good to know. Ren nodded as he turned back to the street. Misto Eroton. He then cast a spell to summon 5 broomsticks lined up on the street next to one another. The girls saw him use this spell against the fight with the Desaz and knew what was coming next. Wait, is he planning on doing that? Asuka asks in surprise. Yeah, he is, Lao happily said with a smile. Ren then changed his master morpher back into the mystic morpher and pointed it at the broomsticks before typing in the spell code 129. Galwad Misto Eroton, Ren said as the broomsticks magically turned into 5 different mystic racers, each with different colors for the mystic force rangers as they were hovering in the air. That's even cooler than the first time we saw it, Chu. Satu said with stars in his eyes as he was looking at the mystic racers. He summons 5 of them. Then does that mean? Mia said before realizing Ren's idea. You guess it. We're going to use the mystic racers and fly straight up to the volcano, Ren said with a grin, saying that made both Mia and Lao smile in excitement as they wanted to ride a hoverbike. Tamara had a look of interest to try flying on one of the mystic racer, and Asuka and Kurumi wasn't as excited as the others but couldn't help to wonder what it's like to fly in the air like a bird. Ren, I could kiss you right now if we weren't in the middle of a war zone, Lao said with a smile while running up to the blue mystic racer. Me too, Ranger boy, Mia also said, walking to the yellow mystic racer. This will definitely save us a lot of time and energy isn't of walking there, Tamara said as she got onto the green mystic racer. It does seem more convenient than walking, Kurumi said, getting on the pink mystic racer. Asuka walked to the red mystic racer and sat down on it, her feet hovering off the ground while keeping her balance on the bike. Never thought I ride on a hoverbike, Asuka thought before noticing something off. I count 5. What about you, Ren? Don't you have another one of those? She asked him. No I don't, but I got something else to ride, Ren said before snapping his finger. Genji, he called out. Then out of nowhere, a flash of golden light appears in the sky revealing the laser lamp falling next to Ren, floating in mid-air before its lid saw a white cat's face. Hey there Ren, long time no see. Did you miss me? Cause I missed you, partner, Genji quickly said in his cheerful tone. Ren just chuckles at the genie's cheerful nature. It's good to see you Genji, he said with a smile. When Ren got his ranger powers, he made sure to get to know Genji and a few other individuals in his actual to build better bonds and relationships with them in the future. The girls were now dumbstruck by what they had just seen. Did that lamp just talk? Kurumi asked while pointing at Genji. At this point, I don't think we should be that surprised, Lao said while shrugging her shoulder as this was not the weirdest thing they had seen. Just what else can he do? Sachu asked in curiosity. So Ren, who are those lovely looking ladies over there? Are they your girlfriends by any chance? Genji asked, making the girls' eyes widen in embarrassment. Girlfriends? The magical girls all thought as they had mad blushes on their faces. Oh, Mei Chu, Sachu said with his hands covering his mouth to hold back his laughter. Teenagers, Holo Tommy thought as their reaction was priceless. No, they aren't Genji. Ren shook his head to the lamp cat. Anyway, I need the mystic carpet if you don't mind. Sure, no problem. Just give me a sec, Genji quickly said as he used his power to summon the mystic carpet. Then a magic flying carpet flew out of nowhere and landed in front of Ren. Is that a magic carpet? Tamara wondered with a raised eyebrow. I think it is, Mia answered with a confused look too. Sachu and Genji, you're riding with me, Ren said stepping onto the carpet before sitting down on it. Asuka, you and the others will ride the mystic racers, he said to them. I call shotgun, Genji said before flying over to Ren and landed on his lap. Hey, no fair, Sachu cried out before landing on Ren's right shoulder. So how do we start those things, anyway? You never really told us, Asuka asked looking to see an activation device on the Mystic Racers. Just pour some of your magic power into Mystic Racers to activate the engines and you can figure out the rest, Ren said as the mystic carpet began to hover off the ground. I'm going on ahead, so try and catch up, okay, he said before the mystic carpet flew into the sky, heading towards the volcano. The girls were left there with what Ren told them as Asuka was the first to try it. He said to pour some of our magic into it, right? Asuka said placing her hand in front of the racer to pour magic into her mystic racer, activating the engine as it was roaring. I see, so that's how it works, she said hovering higher in the air while holding onto the handles. I'm off. She then took off into the sky behind Ren. Asuka, wait for us, Kurumi said being the next person to fly off. That looks like so much fun, Lao said while activating her racer and taking flight. Race you there, Mia said to Tamara with a grin. You're on. Tamara accepted the challenge before the two of them shot out into the sky. Unknown to them, the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization was watching all of this and was glad that Ren was helping them. And their drone flew after them. This freakin' rocks, Mia shouted while flying in the sky with incredible speed. You got that right, just cause, Lao said flying right behind her. This is a lot more easier to ride than I thought, Tamara commented as she was enjoying this new experience. And fun, Hirumi said with a smile as she was right next to Asuka. Don't you think so too, Asuka? It is amazing, Asuka said feeling the wind on her face and her heart racing in excitement with such a breathtaking thrill. It was like they were one with the wind and birds soaring over the horizon. It didn't take long for the magical girls to catch up to Ren as they flew right next to him. Enjoying your rides, you five? Ren asked as he could see the smiles on their faces. Heck yeah, we are, Lao said to him. This thing is fast. We'll get to the volcano in no time, thanks to these bikes you gave us, Kurumi said to Ren. But this magic carpet isn't half bad either, Chu, Sachu said on Ren's shoulder. Tell Ren, I'm keeping this sweet bike when this is over, Mia said with a smile. Hey, don't even think about it, Ren said to Mia, making the others laugh. That's the priority of the Power Rangers, Messy, Genji said to her. Can you at least teach me the spell to make my own? Mia asked him. I'll think about it, Ren said, wondering if it was a good idea. That didn't sound like no to me, Lao said with excitement as she wanted to learn the same spell. Ren just shook his head with a smile as his eyes were closed in amusement. Then Asuka flew right next to him with a smile on her face. Your powers really are something, Ren. Looks like we owe you one, Asuka said to him. Thanks, but it was nothing really, Ren nodded to her. Everyone will be reaching the peak of the volcano soon, Tamara said as they were flying up higher to the volcano. Sachu, how are things up there? The closer we get, the more denser the magic is, Chu, Sachu said to her. He's right, Ren said, waving his hand to use his psychometry. The aura I'm feeling up there is massive and it just keeps getting stronger by the minute. Then we don't have a second to waste. Let's hurry, Asuka said, increasing her speed to fly faster. The others did the same as they finally reached the top of the volcano before they hopped off the Mystic Racers and Mystic Carpet with their vehicles disappearing in the air. When they landed, the team saw a group of Disaz standing behind a massive hole with the monster from another dimension noticing them. Disazes, Asuka said, pulling out her magical karambit while getting into a fight stance, along with everyone else. Didn't think we run into them up here, Tamara said, pulling out her RPK light machine gun with magical rounds. They must be here to guard this place from anyone who comes, Ren said to them. Makes sense, I mean this is where their king will manifest in our world, Mia said, summoning HK 416 with magical rounds. Then let's get this done and take care of their king, Lao said, holding her magical nunchuck. Sachu and Genji, you two stay back, Kurumi said, taking out her magical syringe. You don't need to tell me twice, lady. I'm out of here. Genji said to move away. Right, and good luck, Chu, Sachu said, floating away with Genji. The Disaz then looked like they were ready to attack the magical girls and ran as a few of the Disaz grew in size and pulled out weapons. Another drone belonging to the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization arrived just in time before the fighting started to see how things were going for the magical girls and Ren. Ren, I suggest you ranger up, Asuka advised him to do so. Got it. Ren nodded to her before changing his Master Morpher into the Power Morpher and had the white tiger power coin in it, holding the Morpher in his right hand. It's morphin time, Ren shouted. Tiger Zord, White Ranger power, Ren shouted while doing arm movement before holding the Morpher with both of his hands with his left palm on the bottom of it, then thrusting it forward in front of himself as he turned the device upside down and pushed a red switch located on the right side of the Power Morpher. As it pops open in the center, white lighting glows around the power coin. Mighty Morphin. The background changes to a rocky wasteland with Ren standing there as he moves his arms down to his sides before two bolts of white lightning hit the ground behind him, destroying it upon impact. Then the lightning travels toward the ground at Ren to form his ranger suit from his neck to feet with white sparks of electricity slightly dancing around his body. Suddenly, Ren's helmet appears in front of his face, then turns into energy before forming around his head to complete the transformation. For everyone else who saw Ren change into his ranger form, they saw Ren move his arms down to the side as two bolts of white lightning struck the ground behind Ren, before traveling towards him and forming his outfit from his neck to feet. Then they saw his helmet appear in front of him before forming around his head. Mighty Morphin White Ranger, Ren shouted while getting into a pose. He wore a black vest with a gold outline and chest insignia in the center. The ranger suit also sported gold shoulder pads and gold cuffs with a black outline. The helmet had a tiger-inspired design around the visor and the silver mouthpiece. He also has a curved sword with a tiger's head on the handle. The Magical Girls and Spirit Realm Treaty Organization was amazed by another one of Ren's transformations. Another one. How many of those forms do you have? Lao asked in interest. A lot, Ren said in a deadpan tone. In any case, I got your backs. You take a point, Asuka, he said, getting into a fighting stance. Asuka nodded to him in response. Alright, let's get to it then, she said in a serious, angry tone. Hell yeah, time to cut loose. Mia charged up her gun with magic. Don't get too wild. We still need to save our strength for the final battle, Tamara reminded her. Yeah, I know, Mia replied. But with Ren here, it will make things much more easier, Kurumi said with a smile. This is going to be fun, Lao said, holding her nunchuck in a fighting stance. And twice as awesome with a Power Ranger fighting alongside us. Now let's not forget our motto, Asuka said, with the other magical girls smiled but had serious expressions on their faces. If you want to have the best laugh, be willing to laugh last, they all said together in sync. That's not a half-bad motto. Holo Tommy thought in amazement at their motto. Not a bad motto you girls have, Ren said to them, getting their attention. But now it's time to use my school's motto. Your school motto? Tamara asked. Yeah, and it's one of the most famous ones in my world because a popular hero uses it all the time, Ren said, remembering All Might. Really? What are they? Sachu asked in curiosity. Ren smirked behind his helmet before raising his right hand into a fist. You may have not heard those words before, but teach you what they are, Ren said to them. He pressed his right foot against the ground and jumped up high into the air. Everyone looked up and saw the White Ranger in the sky. Go beyond. Ren started to fall back to the earth, readying his right fist for something big. Plus ultra, he shouted while punching the ground, which resulted in creating a white shockwave that destroyed most of the ground and knocked half of the Disaz off their feet or flew back on the floor. Behind him, the girls were amazed by this action and the words behind his punch. Those words had power behind it and they could feel it too. Hearing this gave the magical girls a new surge of confidence as they wanted to go plus ultra as well. That was awesome, Lao said with excitement. Damn, Ren. Mia was impressed. Increase, Kurumi said in awe. Plus ultra, huh? Tamara said like that motto. So cool. Sachu and Genji said with stars in their eyes. Now that was an interesting motto you told us, Ren. Asuka thought with a smile on her face before changing into a serious expression. Let's go. Asuka charges forward along with the other girls. Ready for face-off, she orders. Ren, Asuka, Kurumi, and Lao rushed at the group Desaz with Mia and Tamara staying back to provide support fire as they were killing the downed Desaz Ren knocked off their feet. Asuka pulls out a smoke grenade and unclips the pin before throwing it at the Desaz, which causes a smoke explosion that temporarily blinds the enemy. With their clouded, Asuka and Lao jumped into the smoke and then started to kill every single Desaz in their sight with slashes and extreme blows from their weapons as the smoke was fading before the two went after more Desaz. Kurumi injected some of the Desaz with a magical drug from her magical syringe that disintegrated the enemy into a puddle of flesh and beat them to death by swinging her weapon into them as well. Ren focused on martial arts by soaring at a big Desaz and threw a fury of air kicks at its head, then backflipped on the ground and delivered a powerful uppercut that ripped off the Desaz's head with it fall over to die, disappearing in light. You wanna fight? You got it, Ren said going for another kill. Aya. He jumped to an incoming hamster Desaz and kicked its side, breaking its bones upon impact as the Desaz was on the ground in pain. Then Mia headshot the hamster to death for the killing blow. Not too bad. Mia grinned before focusing her fire on a Desaz who tried to abuse Lao from behind. Ren continued to hit each Desaz with swift punches, kicks, and counters that killed most of them. But luckily Tamara shot the ones that didn't die with her gun. Annoying pests, Tamara said while shooting more Desaz down quickly and effectively. More Desaz attack Asuka and Lao, but they both dodge the attacks coming at them and use their weapons to kill the enemy. Asuka slashes a fox Desaz in the stomach and neck, killing it in an instant, then jumps over another one that rushes at her and she pulls out a pistol, opening fire at its back that kills the Desaz. Lao skillfully used her nunchuck to block the Desaz attacks and countered them with a couple of flips and dodges that left them wide open for her to take advantage of to give the finishing blow. And here's another for you, Haya, Ren said, kicking to death another Desaz and spinning to the left to avoid another spar attack from a horse Desaz. Then the ranger drew out his sword. Saba, let's do this. You got it, White Ranger. Saba spoke to him. He skillfully swung around in his right hand before blocking the spar with his weapon. Then he pushes the Desaz back with enough force to create an opening for him to strike. You're wide open, ugly. Ren then quickly slashes the horse Desaz in the chest a few times before kicking it to the ground to death, and jumping at a giant lion Desaz with a disgusting face that tries to attack him, while raising his blade. Saba, energy empowerment, Ren told him. On it, Saba quickly said before Ren charged him up with white energy, and Saba's blade glowed white. White energy slash. Both Ren and Saba yelled out together before cutting the giant lion Desaz in half from the face as it disappeared in light. That was most impressive, Saba complimented his partner. Ren then noticed Kurumi blocking a Halloween class Desaz attack with her magical shield but failed to notice a Desaz rushing at her from behind with a battle axe. War nurse, behind you, Ren warned her. Kurumi looks back to see, making her eyes widen in surprise. Oh no, Kurumi cried out. Here, catch, Ren said while throwing Saba at her with enough speed to reach her in time. Kurumi reacted quickly enough to catch Saba with her right hand and countered the Desaz by cutting the battle axe in half, surprising the Desaz. She then thrust Saba into the Desaz chest before cutting upwards to destroy the monster, all while blocking the Halloween class Desaz attacks with her other hand. Haya, Ren cried out, delivering a flying power kick to the Halloween class neck that knocks it over. You good, War Nurse? He asked. I am, thanks to you, White Ranger, Kurumi said with a small smile before heading Saba back to him. I believe this is yours. Ren took his blade as they noticed the Halloween class was slowly getting up from the power kick. Looks like it still has some fight left in it, Ren said. It would be easier if they just stayed down, Kurumi said in slight annoyance. Then do you want to finish it off together? Ren said, holding Saba backhanded. Yes, let's, Kurumi said while pulling out an LMT-LM 308 MWS sharpshooter before pointing the gun at the Desaz. Saba, lightning blasts, Ren asks him as he points him directly at the Desaz. Right, Saba replied. When the Halloween class Desaz looked up at Ren and Kurumi, it saw Ren firing 2 white lightning beams from his sword hilt and Kurumi shooting multiple shots at it, dealing a massive amount of damage which resulted in its own destruction that made the Desaz explode. And that's game, Ren said, placing Saba back in its holster and making Kurumi giggle from his remark. It didn't take too long for the others to finish off the rest of the Desaz that they were fighting and regroup with them. They did it, Chu. Sachu cheered while happily flying around in the air. I know, right? I wish I had popcorn. Why didn't I think to bring popcorn? Genji said. That's the last of them. Ren said to them. Yes, but, Lao said before looking at the massive hole. We still have one more enemy to face, Asuka said with a slightly serious voice. Final boss and then it's game over, Mia said in her non-cheerful tone but with a more serious one. There's nothing left in our way to stop us now, Tamara said in confidence. And we have Ren here to back us up, Kurumi said as well. Then let's put an end to this, Ren said. This is where it all ends. Let's make the Desaz regret ever starting a fight with humanity, Asuka said as they nodded in agreement. The group then walked over to the hole, standing over the edge looking at a pool of hot lava. Then out of nowhere, a monstrous gigantic creature emerges from the pool of lava as it was trying to climb itself out to the surface. So that beast is the king of the Desaz, Asuka exclaimed with disgust. Well damn, that's a new world record in ugly, Ren jokingly said but was still serious about the situation. You can say that again. Holo Tommy thought looking at this creature. It's huge and creepy, Kurumi said in a worried tone. There were only 9 of us when we started, and only 5 remain, Lao said to her friends. But Ren is also here with us, so it's 6 of us, Tamara corrected. Asuka then held up her left hand and opened it to reveal 4 dog tags as she was looking at them with a sad expression on her face. Claudia, Magdalena, Crystal, Francine. Asuka muttered her fallen friends' names before clenching her hand. They fought bravely to the very end, Mia said, smiling with her hand on her hip while looking at Asuka. I think we owe it to them to do the same. I will second that, Tamara said before looking at Lao, who does the same. It's up to us now. Ren looked down at the Desaz King and could tell this monster was on a whole other level than the Desazes has been fighting up till now. No matter how strong something may be, everything has a weakness. All we have to do is find it and exploit it, Ren said to them. Ren's right. I know it looks frightening but it's still a Desaz. It has to have a crystal vein somewhere, Asuka said before pulling her magical karambit closer with a killer expression. Help me get close enough to find it, and then I'll rip it to shreds. It's so annoying when you monopolize the finale, Mia said holding up her assault rifle with a grin. But what's worse is knowing we won't win this any other way. She then looked back at Kurumi. Kurumi, I need you to place all of your remaining healing resources into your magical syringe, she asked her. Kurumi didn't say anything but nodded in response as she did what Mia told her. Okay, you guys, we're here to save the world. Let's take him down, Ren said, encouraging them. Right, they all said, readying their weapons for the final battle. As they were about to charge at the Desaz King used his power to make the volcano erupt into a pillar of magma which pushed the group back. GHHH. They all cried out, being knocked on their backs. The Desaz King uses the eruption to fly out of the volcano and fall straight down to the battlefield as it begins its rampage to destroy the world. Is everyone alright? Ren struggled to ask with him pushing himself up. I think so, Lao said, rubbing her head in pain. That was unexpected. I didn't think the Desaz King would do something like that, Tamara said, getting up on her feet. Speaking of, where is it? Asuka asked as they heard an explosion going off from the distance. Hey guys, you might want to see this. This isn't good, Genji shouted to them in a worried tone. Then the group ran over to the edge of the volcano to see a 63-meter tall Desaz King walking over the battlefield, destroying everything in its path, breathing multiple balls of fire from its mouth as the surviving soldiers from the battle were running for their dear lives. It's huge, and bigger than any Desaz we've seen so far, Sachu panic. Yeah, it almost reminds me of the Master, Genji said, remembering the final battle of the Mystic Force Rangers. This just keeps getting worse by the second, Mia stated in shock. If the Desaz King stays in our world any longer, it will be too powerful for us to stop, Asuka said in concern with sweat running down her neck. We have to finish it off now. But how are we going to kill something that huge? Tamara asked her teammates. We never fought a Desaz that big before. Plus, we barely have that much magical power left, Lao reminded them. No matter how you look at it, this is bad. What do we do, Asuka? Hirumi asked her as the girls looked at their leader for an answer. Asuka was racking her brain for any ideas that came to mind but couldn't find an answer that could help them defeat the Desaz King. I don't know, Asuka whispers in frustration as she doesn't have an idea. But regardless, we have to keep fighting, she said, determination. Fighting when there's still no hope of winning. That's the making of a Power Ranger right there. Holo Tommy thought with a smile. I think this is the perfect time for me to bust out the big guns, Ren said, confusing the girls. By big guns, do you mean the Zords? Genji happily asked in excitement. Zords? Lao and Kurumi asked in curiosity. What are those Zords, Ren? Nia asked the ranger. Ren looked their way and smiled before saying, trust me, you're going to love this, so don't blink. Ren then turned to his left while holding his left hand above his head as it generated white electricity, and his right hand pointed forward. We need Shogun Zord power now, Ren shouted while moving his arms to cross them together as they generated electricity again, and then rolled his arms with his right arm in front of his chest and left one back near his side. He then held his right hand up to the air before a bolt of white lightning shot out of Ren's hand and into the sky, creating a massive wide portal. This made the magical girls, Sachu, General Tabira, and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization were curious about what he was doing. But soon they will find out, because they're going to be in for a big surprise. Morphin Grid. Meanwhile, in the Morphin Grid, 5 giant robots with animal heads heard the call as they were turned online and was ready for battle. Soon a portal opens up underneath them as they win near it before the portal closes up in the grid. Magical Girl Spec Ops Universe divided by Mount Aso, Kumamoto Prefecture, Kyushu Night. Back in the other universe, the 5 different Shogun Zords that were over 30 meters tall came out of the portal and landed right near Ren and the girls as they made the ground shake. The appearance of the Shogun Zords makes the 5 magical girls, Sachu, General Tabira, and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization jaws drop in complete shock as they witness the Shogun Zords in all their guts and glory. It's the Shogun Zords, Genji shouted in joy. Shogun Zords. Sachu repeated what Genji said. The Zords took 3 steps forward as they moved their arms above over their heads, before moving them down to their sides dramatically. The girls looked up at them in awe, as they had never seen anything like this before in their lives. Holy shit, Mia slowly said in disbelief. Unbelievable, Tamara exclaimed with awe. They're amazing, Lao said with her jaw open. Are those giant robots? Hirumi asked with widened eyes. Unreal, this is just like what they do on Super Sentai. Asuka thought, having a godsmack expression on her face. The Spirit Realm Treaty Organization couldn't believe what they were seeing right now. This young man summoned 5 giant robots out of a portal and was thrown into a frenzy about how this was possible. They had drones and other robotic technology in the making, but this was on a whole other level because no country or military had developed something on that scale. Now they were even more interested in Ren and the Shogun Zords as they wanted to make that technology into their own. Ren looked at their faces and couldn't help but laugh. He had the same reaction when he first saw the Zords too. So what do you think? Ren asked. Ren, how in the world do you have something like this? Asuka asked him in shock. Like I said to you all before, I inherited the abilities of all Power Rangers and their Zords too. Ren answered her. Jay, just how many of those Zords do you have? Kurumi hesitated to ask. A lot, Ren said, giving a vague answer as it didn't help calm their nerves. Anyway, I summoned the Shogun Zords to help us fight against the Disaz King. Really? How so? Lao asked him. Simply, we're going to pilot them, Ren said, making their eyes widen again. Did you just say pilot them? They yelled out at the same time. That's right, Ren nodded to them. The girls were now dumbstruck by what Ren said, as they never imagined piloting giant robots. Asuka then looked back at the Shogun Zords and thought to herself, with those Zords, we might actually have a chance at winning this. Asuka thought. Asuka, you'll pilot the red Shogun Zord with Sachu, Ren said to the ash hair girl before turning to the other girls. Lao, you'll pilot the blue Shogun Zord. Tamara, you're in the black Shogun Zord. Mia, the yellow Shogun Zord. And finally Kurumi, you'll help me pilot the white Shogun Zord. He told all of them. But we don't know how to pilot those Zords. Mia argued back. Don't worry about that. When you pilot your Zords, it will come as natural as breathing. Trust me, Ren said, easing her thoughts. I say we do it, Tamara said, getting their attention. I mean, we have nothing to lose after all. I agree as well. Piloting Ren's Zords is the best option available to us if we want to win this, Asuka said with a nod. I'm not complaining, Lao said with a smile before looking up at the Zords. And a part of me wants to try riding in a giant robot for the first time. If Asuka is okay with it, then so am I, Kurumi said in agreement. Aw, what the hell? Mia said, scratching her head with a smile. I'm in too. Good, then get to it, Ren said, grabbing Kurumi's hand, which made the girl blush. Hang on the thigh? Okay. Oh, okay, Kurumi said with a light blush. Genji, thanks for your help. You can go now, Ren shouted at him before jumping into the white Shogun Zord, along with Kurumi. Got ya, and good luck, my friend, Genji said before disappearing. We should go as well. Tamara said as Asuka, Mia, and Lao nodded in response. Then the other 4 magical girls along with Sachu jump into their own Zords. Red Shogun Zord, power up. Asuka and Sachu shouted together as the Red Shogun Zord posed. Blue Shogun Zord, power up. Lao shouted with the Blue Shogun Zord poses. Black Shogun Zord, power up. Tamara shouted as the Black Shogun Zord struck a pose. Yellow Shogun Zord, power up. Mia shouted while the Yellow Shogun Zord posed. White Shogun Zord, power up. Ren and Kirumi shouted as one with the White Shogun Zord doing its own pose. Now let's go kill us a king, Ren said before the White Shogun Zord ran down the volcano at full speed. Roger that. The others followed from behind with their Zords. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 6. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.